Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share Infinite Novel Audio, a seemingly perfect level movement technique, one that borders on the subtle level. Yao Rao raised an eyebrow, sensing an indescribable charm in the way Wei Wen and Luo Feng moved. On the surface, their techniques appeared to have reached the perfect or even subtle level, yet upon closer inspection, they didn't seem to fit either category perfectly. In short, Yao Rao found their movements peculiar. After a moment of contemplation yielded no answers, Yao Rao immediately dialed Hong's number and sent him the video of their recent battle. Upon receiving the email and call, Hong began watching the video. As the final frame faded, a smile touched his lips. "Master, that's the situation. I've now arrived at Wei Wen and Luo Feng's location. What are your instructions?" Yao Rao inquired, her voice laced with doubt. "I didn't expect them to be spiritual masters as well. Things are getting more and more interesting," Hong mused with a smile. "And I've always felt their power is somewhat peculiar. It might even appear more refined than Thunder God's 9-stage Thunder Blade." Inspector Wang previously speculated that Wei Wen and Luo Feng might have held back during their strength tests. It seems he was right. However, as their blade skills continue to improve, the performance gap between their techniques and the standard 9-stage Thunder Blade will widen, making the differences clearer to see. When they come to headquarters for their assessment at the end of August, inform them to report to me first. I will meet them in person. Hong was quite knowledgeable about spiritual masters, possessing foundational texts on their secrets. He deduced that when Wei Wen and Luo Feng first cultivated their genetic primal power, they must have simultaneously awakened their spiritual power. Judging from their combat power, Hong concluded that both were born with exceptionally powerful latent spiritual talents. Among the spiritual masters he had encountered, they were undoubtedly among the best. This implied their minds were vast, and simply put, their comprehension was high. No wonder they managed to master the 9-stage Thunderblade to such an extent in such a short time. Their status as spiritual masters explains why their progress might even surpass the Thunder God himself, Hong thought privately. More refined than the Thunder God's 9-stage Thunderblade. Yao Rao was shocked. They both must be spiritual masters. Thunder God was a figure at least slightly stronger than Hong himself. How could Wei Wen and Luo Feng's blade skills be more perfect than his? Had anyone but Hong said this, Yao Rao would never have believed it. Spiritual masters were exceedingly rare. Among the nearly 60 powerhouses who surpassed the God of War level globally, the number of spiritual masters likely didn't even reach 10. Given how remarkable these two were, it made perfect sense for the Extreme Martial Hall founder, Hong, to meet them personally. Seeing that Hong had no further instructions, Yao Rao respectfully ended the call without disturbing him further. Despite her own strength, which surpassed that of ordinary planetary-level fighters, facing Hong, who had comprehended a domain, still felt like standing before a god. A planetary-level domain truly lived up to its name of being invincible within the planetary level. Even a prodigy like Yao Rao, at the peak of God of War level, was no match for Hong. I should go meet these two monsters and test the stages of their 9-stage Thunder Blade skills, Yao Rao thought, taking a moment to calm her astonishment. Under the dim sky, Wei Wen fought fiercely against the monsters. The monsters, possessing high intelligence, recognized Wei Wen's formidable body techniques and realized they might not be able to kill him. The appearance of the extraordinary fighter plane in the sky further crushed their morale, and they began to flee one after another. Wei Wen, who had been immersed in his mutated perfect body technique, his spiritual power in perfect harmony with the nature of heaven and earth, could only shake his head with regret as he watched the monsters retreat. At that moment, he noticed the fighter plane in the sky preparing to land nearby, the triangular fighter plane of the Extreme Martial Hall. Is this the special envoy from the Hall's global headquarters, the planetary-level powerhouse, Yao Rao? Just before Yao Rao's arrival, Xue Ying had briefly informed them of the situation. Bodyguard Yao Rao is one of the 3 personal bodyguards of the founder. She's a powerhouse who has surpassed the god of war level and is far stronger than I am, Lu Gang whispered urgently. Wei Wen, Luo Feng, when the special envoy emerges, you must show her the utmost respect. Understood, Wei Wen and Luo Feng nodded. They were no fools. After a moment with no movement, Wei Wen felt a flicker of confusion. I thought the special envoy was coming out, whoosh. After a short wait, the cabin door finally opened. A figure flew out, hovering silently in midair before descending gracefully. A powerhouse beyond the god of war level, a planetary-level being, Wei Wen thought to himself. Wei Wen, familiar with the original events, knew clearly that, as one of Hong's 3 personal bodyguards, each possessed unique skills personally designed by the world's strongest man. In the hierarchy of the extreme martial hall, Yao Rao ranked within the top 3, her strength far surpassing that of ordinary inspectors. Even if Wei Wen unleashed his full spiritual power, he might not be her match, let alone contend with Hong, who had comprehended a domain. For now, the best course was to wait and see. We pay our respects to the special envoy, Lord Yao Rao, Lu Gang, Wei Wen, and Luo Feng bowed slightly. The special envoy, Yao Rao nodded, her gaze settling on Wei Wen and Luo Feng. I didn't expect you two to be spiritual masters. Times were different now. Luo Feng wasn't as tense as in the original timeline when his secret was revealed, as he hadn't provoked Lai Yao yet. His current mindset was similar to when he had exposed his spiritual master abilities to save the Fire Hammer Squad, concerned, but not overly worried about the consequences. As for Wei Wen, he had long since accepted that his identity as a spiritual master would come to light eventually. Spiritual masters. Lu Gang was stunned, over the past few days, through his guidance and observing Wei Wen and Luo Feng's repeated battles. Lu Gang had already confirmed their extraordinary strength. For instance, Luo Feng was already a high-level warrior, and his spiritual master's strength was at the average warrior level, while Wei Wen was a high-level warrior. An 18-year-old mid-level god of war, a high-level god of war and spiritual masters. Wei Wen and Luo Feng are even more impressive than I imagined. All warriors understood the terror of spiritual masters. In a battle between warriors and spiritual masters of the same level, the spiritual master would undoubtedly sweep the warrior aside. After all, no matter how skilled a warrior was with blade, shield, or body technique, a spiritual master could attack from a distance, remotely controlling flying daggers at speeds that easily broke the sound barrier. And with the flying daggers guided by spiritual power, could a warrior of the same level even hope to strike them accurately? Soon, Yao Rao conducted an assessment of Wei Wen and Luo Feng's 9-stage Thunder Blade. The results were, unsurprisingly, a pass. Regarding your application for a training quota in the elite training camp, headquarters has approved it, Yao Rao stated directly. You now have the opportunity to enter the world's #1 elite training camp. There is only one condition: you must pass the B-grade test. The test will be at the end of August. On behalf of the Extreme Martial Hall, I ask you formally, are you willing to join the elite training camp for approximately 5 years of training? We agree. Wei Wen and Luo Feng responded without hesitation. This is the special training contract. You just need to sign it, Yao Rao said, producing the pre-prepared elite training camp contracts. Additionally, the hall founder is very curious about you. When you report to the headquarters training camp, you should first come to the Extreme Martial Hall headquarters in Hongning Base City. The training contract was straightforward. Wei Wen and Luo Feng scanned it briefly and signed all 4 copies. Yao Rao then affixed the special envoy's seal, making the contracts effective. Now, all that remained was to continue practicing and honing their skills while quietly awaiting the day they would go to headquarters, meet Hong, the master of the Extreme Martial Hall, and take the B-grade assessment. After Yao Rao left, Lu Gang began his brief introduction to Wei Wen and Luo Feng about the elite training camp. The elite training camp offers the best resources, top-tier hardware facilities, the finest instructors, advanced software, and so on. Of course, the most crucial element is the hardware, particularly the equipment derived from ancient civilization relics. These are immensely beneficial for enhancing a warrior's strength. Once you enter the elite training camp, your progress in physical fitness, movement techniques, blade skills, combat experience, and more will be far faster than if you were training alone. As long as you survive your time there, it's almost guaranteed that with 5 years of standard training, you will undoubtedly become a high-level warrior in the future. Now, about the B-grade assessment, let me explain briefly. The Warrior Palace also has a trial tower. I've attempted the so-called B-grade assessment myself. The difficulty should be quite manageable for Wei Wen, given his growth rate. However, Luo Feng, you need to be careful. If they arrange an assessment for you at the global headquarters this time, you might fail unless you've been hiding your true capabilities. But remember, the elite training camp is the #1 training camp in the world. It recruits the best of the best, geniuses among geniuses. You'll be surrounded by monstrously talented peers. So, there's no need to hold back your talents and comprehension. Moreover, the fact that the dojo's leader, Hong, wants to meet you this time shows how highly he thinks of you. In a place like that, you can set aside modesty and caution. Show them everything you've got, only then will you gain greater recognition. As for meeting the leader, don't be nervous. Leader Hong is very supportive of talented warriors. I was fortunate enough to meet him myself back in the day. Of course, what truly matters for a warrior is strength. Never forget that. So what are your plans next? Well, since our identity as spiritual masters is already out, we plan to challenge more powerful monsters, Wei Wen said after a moment of silence. No problem, Lu Gang smiled. You both have immense potential as spiritual masters. Even though Luo Feng is currently weaker than you, he's still an average warrior-level spiritual master. Combined with the inherent advantages of a spiritual master, he's comparable to an ordinary advanced warrior. As for you, Wei Wen, saying you're on par with a warrior-level fighter is no exaggeration. I think it's perfectly feasible to take you to City No. 003 for training. Only high-intensity combat can accelerate your growth. Lu Gang's assessment was accurate. After all, he had previously led the Fire Hammer team, including Luo Feng, who was only a mid-level spiritual master at the time, to City No. 003. August 8th, City No. 027. Meow, the shadow cats immediately went into a frenzy. Several beast soldier level and beast general level shadow cats pounced towards Wei Wen, swoosh. A single blade strike, tracing a sharp arc, instantly killed the 4 beast soldiers and the beast general level shadow cat. But at that moment, a junior lord level shadow cat had already leaped in front of Wei Wen. Its claw tore through the air, producing a harsh, screeching sound. Facing this junior lord level shadow cat, Wei Wen chose not to use his spiritual master abilities. His blade moved as if by pure conditioned reflex. Powerful force instantly transmitted from his legs, through his waist and hips. Crack, crack, crack. Wei Wen's physical strength erupted in successive waves, multiple powerful forces converging into his right arm. The blood shadow blade in his hand seemed to ripple like water surface, layering wave after wave of power, causing the blade to accelerate multiple times instantly. The 6th stage of the 9-stage Thunder Blade, a 4.9-fold amplification of power. The blood shadow blade flashed like lightning, instantly creating a sonic boom. Clang, clang. After several consecutive clashes, the speed and strength displayed by both sides reached terrifying levels. Invisible shockwaves surged, and the ground around them trembled violently. Yet, the shadow cat simply couldn't touch Wei Wen. The realms of blade techniques and movement techniques are somewhat abstract and inherently vague concepts. Take the micro-level movement technique, for example. As long as one can dodge enemy attacks with minimal movement, that qualifies as micro-level. Even if one relies on mental power to achieve this, it still counts. As for the perfect level movement technique, Wei Wen had occasionally touched upon before, he could sometimes execute it effortlessly when in peak condition, but might lose that feeling afterward. Clearly, only through prolonged combat and training can one stabilize such a state. However, the 9-stage Thunder Blade includes a matching movement technique. After Luo Feng's breakthroughs and subsequent feedback, Wei Wen, having reached the 6th stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade, naturally correspondingly reached the 6th stage of the technique. This undoubtedly qualified as a genuine perfect level. Coupled with Luo Feng's feedback, Wei Wen's comprehension of perfect level movement had been fully integrated into his being, allowing him to utilize it at will. Dodge, dodge, dodge. No matter how frantically the shadow cat attacked, Wei Wen evaded each strike by a hair's breadth, effortlessly sidestepping every move. Meanwhile, Wei Wen's blade strikes grew increasingly fierce and domineering, like flashes of lightning, bypassing the shadow cat's claw defenses to slash at its body again and again. Lord-level monsters possess incredibly strong defenses, but the S-grade blood shadow blade was no mere decoration. Wounds began to appear one after another on the shadow cat's body. Despite the superhuman vitality of Lord-level monsters at their intense combat speed, dozens of scars covered the shadow cat in the blink of an eye. The battle lasted a full minute. Blood stained its fur crimson. The shadow cat lost more and more blood, its movements gradually slowing. Finally, Wei Wen decisively delivered a slash across its neck. After convulsing for a moment, it died on the spot. Wei Wen had slain the junior Lord-level shadow cat using only his warrior abilities. Of course, this was achieved with the assistance of Luo Feng and Lu Gang containing the other shadow cats. Furthermore, after Luo Feng cultivated the 9-stage Thunderblade, his rate of absorbing genetic energy increased, which in turn strengthened the power feedback to Wei Wen. For instance, the first stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade was said to double one's efficiency in absorbing genetic energy and enhancing strength. While the second and third stages didn't double the effect, they still provided significant improvements. Additionally, Luo Feng practiced the 5 acupoints origin method, which further increased his efficiency in absorbing genetic energy. About half a month ago, Luo Feng's physical strength had reached the junior general level. Now, through Luo Feng's feedback and his own occasional training, Wei Wen's physical strength had reached the mid-level warrior standard, and he was no ordinary mid-level warrior, with a mid-level warrior's foundation, amplified 9 times by the 6th stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade. Wei Wen alone possessed enough power to challenge an elementary Lord-level monster. As for his spiritual master strength, his basic mental power alone was already comparable to that of an elementary warrior-level fighter. Moreover, after receiving feedback from Luo Feng, Wei Wen's telekinesis amplitude had reached an exaggerated 6-fold. If a high-level Lord monster were caught off guard, he could potentially kill it. If he were to submit the materials from the 2 Lord-level monsters he had killed now, his rating would likely be classified as God of War level, Psi. Using only God of War strength to solo a Lord-level monster is still quite taxing. Wei Wen's chest heaved violently, his entire body drenched as if fished out of water. After a full minute of unleashing the 9-stage Thunder Blade at full power, he had executed hundreds of slashes, each with 4.9 times his base strength. Post-battle, he instantly felt soreness in every muscle, and his brain throbbed from the intense concentration required for his blade and movement techniques. A god of war must have hunted that shadow cat right. A warrior who had witnessed the battle from thousands of meters away trembled with excitement. 2 of the powerful figures in the fight appeared exceptionally young. Judging by their faces, Wei Wen and Luo Feng seemed to be only 17 or 18 years old. If they truly possessed God of War strength at such a tender age, they would have long been renowned throughout China. Could they actually be much older and just have youthful appearances? God of War Lu Gang, it's an honor to have you here. You've been neglecting us. At Supply Base 003, the person in charge of the HR Alliance was a kind-faced, round-faced, middle-aged man. You 2 young men, please have a seat as well. Wei Wen and Luo Feng sat down calmly, picked up the teacups in front of them, and drained them in one go. Seeing this, the supervisor inwardly sighed. This was top-quality tea, yet they were drinking it as if it were plain boiled water. However, he quickly reminded himself that this wasn't the first time Liu Gang had approached them to sell materials from Lord-level monsters in over a month. Compared to the income from those materials, this bit of tea was insignificant, so he held his tongue. Previously, Liu Gang had always come alone without Wei Wen and Luo Feng in tow. Senior, you mentioned earlier that you have another batch of materials from Lord-level and General-level monsters for sale. The round-faced HR Alliance supervisor said with a smile. To be honest, very few God of War warriors chose to hunt Lord-level monsters, as mentioned in the original work. After all, Lord-level monsters were typically surrounded by hordes of soldier-level and general-level monsters. It was impossible for a warrior to succeed every time. A single misstep could lead to being swarmed by a beast tide. For instance, in the original work, Liu Gang met his end after being surrounded by a rat tide. Yet, no one could figure out how Liu Gang had managed to hunt so many Lord-level monsters recently. In fact, it wasn't just the HR Alliance that was suspicious. The warrior supply base was a small place, and Liu Gang's activities were impossible to keep under wraps. Soon, stories about Liu Gang spread throughout the supply base. He was a madman god of war, obsessed with hunting Lord-level monsters every day to make money. Yes. Liu Gang's mouth twitched slightly. Without another word, he grabbed the backpack beside him and gave it a sharp tug. A large quantity of materials from Lord-level and General-level monsters spilled out. Another Lord-level monster. The HR Alliance supervisor's mouth twitched involuntarily. Senior Liu Gang, tell me, have you discovered some secret location where lone Lord-level monsters appear, and a new one shows up right after you kill one? HMPH, you talk too much. Liu Gang snorted coldly. If such a place truly existed, why would he ever tell anyone? Besides, most of these Lord-level monsters hadn't been killed by him alone. As a warrior, even as a mid-level god of war, his mobility couldn't compare to Wei Wen and Luo Feng's. So, when they targeted Lord-level monsters, Wei Wen and Luo Feng usually took the lead in dealing with them, while Liu Gang was responsible for planning their strategies. Ahem. The supervisor coughed, and staff members immediately stepped forward with professional equipment to assess the type and value of the monster materials. Low-level Lord-class Shadow Cat, materials exceptionally intact. Estimated value, 12 billion Chinese coins. Mang Niu horns combined with high-level general-level materials. Total value, approximately 30 billion Chinese coins. The staff members tested and reported simultaneously, their voices tinged with excitement and awe. As expected of a veteran god of war. Even the lowest quality materials are from high-level general-level monsters. Each batch means he's slain another high-level general. The supervisor marveled inwardly. Monsters of this level were second only to Lord-level beings. It was incredibly difficult for a god of war-level warrior to hunt them down. For example, in the original novel, Luo Feng was fortunate to encounter a silver moon wolf. A god of war team had only managed to wound it, but failed to kill it. Liu Gang usually operated alone, so hunting a high-level general-level monster was no easy feat. Yet, for some reason, he had recently been hunting high-level general-level and lord-level monsters like a man possessed. Liu Gang has been on a rampage lately. It's insane how he's slaughtering high-level general-level and lord-level monsters. How does he manage to bring back so many materials every time he returns? Who knows? If anyone knew this secret, why would they share it? But I heard he earned 30 billion just from selling materials this time. How much has he made in over a month? Damn, I hadn't realized until now. It's shocking. Why is he hunting high-level, general-level, and lord-level monsters every day, right in the middle of monster hordes? Such high-intensity hunting must be exhausting, right? Who knows? But that lunatic Liu Gang has been at it for over a month now. Countless God of War-level warriors at the supply base were discussing Liu Gang. Many God of War-level warriors envied Liu Gang while also thinking he was insane. This young man is truly both crazy and interesting. Of course, for warriors beyond the God of War level who rarely ventured into the wilderness, it was merely a topic of amazement. However, Liu Gang found the criticism over the past month utterly frustrating. He felt like he was taking the fall for someone else. Still, there were advantages to being the scapegoat. For one, the money he earned in over a month rivaled his income from previous years combined. Secondly, after Wei Wen's 9-stage Thunderblade surpassed his own, Wei Wen had given him some pointers. Admittedly, these were insights into the 9-stage Thunderblade, a technique created by the Thunder God. But with his accumulated experience, Lu Gang had actually broken through to the 4th level of the 9-stage Thunderblade, a 3.5x force amplification, a height many high-level gods of war never reached. Even if he were unlucky enough to encounter another rat tide, he might not necessarily die this time. Since they were scheduled to leave China at the end of the month for the global headquarters of the Extreme Martial Hall, today would likely be their last monster hunting expedition. As this was their final sale of monster materials, Wei Wen proposed splitting the earnings equally among the 3 of them. Logically, Wei Wen deserved the largest share, as per the default rules for dividing spoils among warriors. Even Luo Feng, a high-level warrior-level spiritual master with triple telekinetic amplitude, wasn't as efficient at hunting monsters as Lu Gang. However, Lu Gang had taken great care of Wei Wen and Luo Feng before. So, when Wei Wen suggested an equal split, Luo Feng agreed without much hesitation. Since Wei Wen and Luo Feng, who would have taken the lion's share, both agreed, Lu Gang stopped being polite. Each of them received over 10 billion over the past 2 months. The money Luo Feng earned from hunting monsters was almost enough to buy the aquatic life, priced at 300 billion. They drank late into the night, not parting ways until the next morning. From that day on, their 3-person team was officially disbanded. Wei Wen and Luo Feng were headed to the global headquarters, while Lu Gang would continue fighting alone. Extreme Martial Hall headquarters, Jiangnan Base City. While waiting for the special envoy from the headquarters to arrive, Wei Wen decided to test his current strength. The punching strength data tested after the second awakening was 10,081 kg. Wei Wen stood in front of the punching force tester in the training hall and stretched slightly. Nearly 2 months have passed since then. I wonder what level my physical fitness has reached now. Wei Wen switched on the punching force tester, and the screen lit up instantly. Let's not use the explosive force method of the 9 layers of Thunder Blade for now. Wei Wen took a deep breath and threw a straight forward punch. Boom, his fist, like a cannonball, slammed into the punching target. The target shook violently, and soon a number appeared on the screen, 24,068 kg. Luo Feng, who had trained for over half a year longer in the original work, had likely only reached this level of strength. Such a significant increase. Wei Wen couldn't help but feel surprised as he looked at the number displayed before him. It's important to note that in the original work, even after Luo Feng cultivated the 3rd stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade and had access to the various facilities of the elite training camp, he typically only increased his punching power by a little over 2,000 kilograms per month. Without the resources of the elite training camp, that increase would likely have been limited to about 1,000 kilograms per month. Comparatively, the current Luo Feng possesses the advantages of the 5 Hearts Heavenly technique and an optimized version of the 9-stage Thunder Blade. His rate of improvement now surpasses even his efficiency during his time at the elite training camp in the original timeline. As for Wei Wen's growth, not only does he receive feedback from Luo Feng's practice, but he has also reached the realm of the 6th-stage Thunder Blade himself. Even if his innate genetic talent isn't exceptionally high, his efficiency in absorbing genetic life energy is still quite respectable. While the 2 of them increasing their punching power by approximately 1,400 kilograms might seem a bit unbelievable, upon careful consideration, this figure is actually within expectations. The baseline for a senior warrior-level punching power is around 32,000 kilograms, and Wei Wen's power is already approaching this threshold. Let's see how far the Thunder God's 6th-stage Thunder Blade can reach. Wei Wen smiled, gathering his momentum once more. This time, Wei Wen employed the 6th layer's hidden force method of the 9-stage Thunder Blade. The moment he threw his punch, his fists accelerated successively. Their speed easily broke the sound barrier, producing a terrifying sonic boom. The fist ultimately struck the target like a heavy hammer. Boom tilde tilde, the punching target shuddered violently, swaying for a long moment before settling back. Cool. Wei Wen looked at the display screen. It paused briefly before showing a line of staggering data, 117,900 kg. A punch with nearly 120 tons of force. For reference, a large truck only weighs a few tons. One can imagine just how exaggerated the power behind Wei Wen's punch was. Wei Wen himself was quite surprised by this data. After all, the baseline for a mid-level god of war is only 125,600 kg, and he was already very close. However, the strength of a spiritual master, once their hidden spiritual power is fully utilized, is typically 2 major levels higher than that of a warrior, effectively quadrupling their strength. This is the first time testing my mental power. Let's see just how strong it is. Wei Wen thought. A flying knife suddenly materialized. Wei Wen channeled his mental power into the flying knife, making the hilt fly towards the punching machine's target. The flying knife instantly transformed into a streak of light, shooting towards the target. Peng tilde tilde, the target vibrated violently, emitting a low, resonant sound that could stop an ordinary person's heart. A line of data appeared on the display screen, 96,280 kg. Seeing this number, Wei Wen couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. One must understand that this flying knife attack doesn't rely on raw force. Its advantage lies in extreme speed. A flying knife that wins through speed can carry the formidable power of a junior god of war. A direct hit from such a blade would be enough to easily kill a junior god of war. Furthermore, Wei Wen's telekinetic amplitude is 6-fold, meaning he can control 6 flying knives simultaneously, each reaching the peak of telekinetic. Imagine 6 flying knives stabbing from all directions, front, back, left, right, at speeds exceeding 10 times the speed of sound, capable of changing trajectory instantaneously. No matter how strong a high-level god of war's physical body is, no matter how profound their blade skills or how nimble their movement techniques, they would most likely perish. The flexibility and unpredictability of a spiritual master's flying knives are far superior. This is the inherent advantage of a spiritual master. Wei Wen was already capable of defeating the vast majority of high-level gods of war. Apart from a select few monsters or other spiritual masters, it was already difficult for anyone below the god of war level to match him. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Wei Wen and Luo Feng, accompanied by god of war Yang Hui, boarded a passenger plane headed for Hongning Base City. After roughly an hour and a half, they finally arrived at their destination, where they then boarded a special vehicle sent by the Extreme Martial Hall to pick them up. There are currently 5 major powers in the world, governing a total of 23 base cities, yet Hong occupies only 1. Hong is the most powerful individual on Earth, the wealthiest person, of course. His comprehension is also exceptional. Early on, at the planetary level, Hong had already comprehended a domain, a realm incomparably profound. Above the planetary level are the star level and the universe level. However, not all universe-level experts can comprehend a domain. For instance, the golden horned beast, whose body Luo Feng later seized, possessed a world master-level bloodline. Its talent and comprehension were certainly not poor, yet it only entered the domain stage at the universe level. This highlights just how formidable Hong's comprehension was. If not for Luo Feng's emergence, Hong might very well have been the protagonist of his generation. After all, he later became the strongest individual in the universe within a single reincarnation era. Hong is truly a remarkable man. Wei Wen couldn't help but muse to himself. 20 minutes later, the special vehicle stopped in front of the gate of the Extreme Martial Hall Global Headquarters. "We're here. This is the global headquarters of our Extreme Martial Hall," Yang Hui explained simply. "What do you think? Doesn't it look like a spaceship?" "It really does." Wei Wen and Luo Feng nodded in unison. Wei Wen knew very well that the Extreme Martial Hall headquarters was in fact a genuine spaceship, albeit a damaged one incapable of space navigation. Even so, Wei Wen was still astonished. One must realize, the spaceship before them was several hundred meters tall and tens of thousands of meters long. To see such a colossal spaceship structure in person was an indescribable experience. In front of this gigantic spaceship building was a massive hatch dozens of meters wide, large enough to accommodate a great many people. Wei Wen, Luo Feng, and Mr. Yang Hui have been summoned by the Hall Master. As soon as Wei Wen and Luo Feng approached the gate of the Extreme Martial Hall headquarters, a warrior in black robes appeared. "Come, I'll take you inside." Only a select few high-ranking officials at the headquarters have the authority to enter. Entering the headquarters gate without authorization is strictly forbidden. The defense system will eliminate any intruders. The three of them nodded in understanding and silently followed him into the headquarters. Wei Wen felt a sense of anticipation about meeting Hong soon and wondered just what benefits he might gain from him. After all, the so-called elite training camp was merely a transitional stage. The most crucial aspect was the potential gains one could acquire. Whether it was dragon blood, which directly enhanced strength, or powerful equipment from the ancient civilization ruins, such resources would still be immensely useful to Wei Wen at this stage. Upon entering the lounge, Wei Wen noticed that many powerful individuals were already waiting there. These strong figures were visibly shocked upon seeing Wei Wen and Luo Feng's arrival. One must understand, Hong had just emerged from seclusion. The people waiting here were no ordinary figures, and none looked as young as Wei Wen and Luo Feng. For these two youths to be granted an audience with Hong at such a young age clearly indicated they possessed something extraordinary. "Wei Wen, Luo Feng, the Hall Master has summoned you." A warrior wearing a gray combat uniform appeared. Wei Wen and Luo Feng had barely taken their seats. They thought they would have to wait longer to see Hong, but unexpectedly, the summons came almost immediately. Everyone present looked at Wei Wen and Luo Feng with even greater astonishment. In Swallowed Star, strength is respected. There is no concept of first come, first served. The fact that Hong chose to meet them first made everyone even more curious about what made Wei Wen and Luo Feng so special. Consequently, the smiles directed their way became noticeably warmer. Regardless of the reason, it was clear that Wei Wen and Luo Feng were anything but ordinary. Wei Wen and Luo Feng took a deep breath, followed the warrior, and soon arrived at the door of a reception room. "Wei Wen, Luo Feng, come in." Hong's deep voice resonated from within. "Yes." Wei Wen and Luo Feng nodded, pushed open the door, and entered the reception room. "Sit." Seeing them enter, Hong looked up, his gaze resting on Wei Wen and Luo Feng, a slight smile playing on his lips. There were only 3 cushions in the reception room. Under Hong's gesture, Wei Wen and Luo Feng sat down opposite him. "Your mental power is very strong, indicating a substantial reserve of latent spiritual force. Furthermore, your talent for cultivating genetic energy is also quite good." Hong couldn't help but praise. The amount of latent mental power a person possesses is almost indicative of their brain's capacity. That is, their level of brain development, commonly referred to as comprehension ability. The fact that Wei Wen and Luo Feng's mental power was still rapidly improving demonstrated that their latent mental reserves were immense. It was no surprise, then, that their comprehension skills were so formidable. However, they were spiritual masters, while Hong was a warrior. Wei Wen understood that their status as spiritual masters wasn't the primary reason Hong wanted to meet them. "Aren't you curious why I wanted to see you?" Hong smiled. "A little," Wei Wen replied softly. "Yan Ran showed me the video of your previous monster battles, and I noticed something unique about your power application," Hong explained simply. "But since your strength was still relatively low at the time, I couldn't discern much from it. Now, can you tell me why your method of exerting force seems slightly different from the 9-stage Thunder Blade?" As expected of the greatly perceptive Hong, Wei Wen couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Hong had managed to detect an issue with their force application just from a video. He truly lived up to his reputation as a monster who had nearly single-handedly comprehended the realm. While I was practicing the 9-stage Thunder Blade, I had a sudden flash of insight. Wei Wen began after a moment's silence, deciding not to hide the truth. Sooner or later, Hong would discover the flaw in Earth's force application methods. Revealing it now might bring him greater benefits, creating a win-win situation for both. It felt like the power exertion of the 9-stage Thunder Blade was somewhat wasteful. Wasteful. Hong was taken aback. Explain in detail. Generally, warriors new to force generation might only use it for explosive attacks. Wei Wen simplified. More astute practitioners can also apply it to their legs to increase speed. Luo Feng, for instance, only became aware of this application after entering the elite training camp. So, I wondered if force exertion could also be used for defense. Wei Wen continued. I followed that line of thought and actually managed to create this method of force application. Indeed, every field has its masters, and each person excels in different areas, Hong couldn't help but exclaim. Moreover, an individual's wisdom has its limits. Every supremely talented practitioner has a unique way of thinking and a different perspective on force application. We failed to improve our force exertion methods. I never expected you to grasp it through a single moment of inspiration. Hong wasn't wrong. Take Hong and the Thunder God, for example. Hong could comprehend the realm and seemed to have deeper insights than Thor. Yet Hong's achievements in force exertion fell short of Thor's. If you've truly improved the force exertion method, it will benefit all of humanity. Would you allow me to see it? Hong asked after a moment of silence. Naturally, I won't let you suffer a loss. I can offer you significant benefits, such as Spirit Master secret techniques that are exceedingly rare across the entire Earth. No problem. Wei Wen's eyes immediately lit up. Luo Feng, without any proper Spirit Master techniques, had managed to triple his mental power amplitude in just 2 months. With relevant secret methods, his growth rate would be even faster, and Wei Wen himself could advance more rapidly, alleviating his deep-seated anxiety about insufficient strength. It had to be said, after meeting Hong and making a simple comparison, Wei Wen felt like an ant in the face of such power. This only intensified his suppressed fear of weakness. He was eager to enhance his strength, and the resources Hong offered were a perfect opportunity. Wei Wen then demonstrated his improved 9-stage Thunder Blade before Hong, who watched with wide-eyed astonishment. The techniques and concepts behind Wei Wen's improved 9-stage Thunder Blade provided immense enlightenment for Hong and Lei Shen, who had been blindly attempting to create their own force generation secrets all along. So that's where we went wrong. Our approach to force exertion was flawed. I blame myself. Even the Thunder God has felt that practicing force exertion is becoming increasingly difficult, Hong sighed. To use an analogy, cultivating force exertion was like constructing a skyscraper. For the building to stand firm, it needed a solid foundation. Hong and Lei Shen had already encountered problems with their force exertion because they solely pursued higher explosive power. This made it increasingly difficult for their bodies to withstand stronger bursts of energy. After all, the body's basic strength was limited. The force of the 9th stage of the 9-stage Thunder Blade was 7 times the base strength. How could the body possibly endure such an extreme pursuit of hardness? They had made a mistake in the foundation. They kept building the skyscraper higher and higher on a flawed base. Naturally, the higher it went, the harder it became to improve, and the more difficult it was to reinforce the foundation. In short, if they continued down this wrong path, they would have very little room left for improvement. A perfected force exertion method could increase the body's defensive amplitude, enhancing its endurance. This would naturally allow for easier bursts of higher force and make practice less difficult. I wonder if you'd be willing to teach the force generation method you created to all warriors. Hong asked after another moment of silence. Of course, you won't be teaching it for free. Teach it, Wei Wen asked, slightly puzzled. Yes, teach it, Hong continued. Although we've reached an agreement with the monsters now, avoiding another so-called decisive battle. The number of monsters is simply too vast. There are too many humans, and especially the quantity and variety of monsters in the sea are practically endless. No one knows when even more powerful monsters might evolve and appear. At the very least, we humans are not yet entirely safe on Earth. Besides the threats on Earth, we've also explored some ruins and discovered that threats from beyond Earth far surpass the monsters here. I won't go into specific details with you. Knowing them is useless without sufficient strength. Currently, the greatest immediate threat remains the Earth's monsters. To combat the monsters, the secret manuals created by Thor and myself are available for purchase, sale, and learning. This is also a contribution to the safety of all mankind, and your force exertion method. I feel it's sufficient to lead a transformation in human power application. Its significance surpasses even our buying and selling of secret manuals. If possible, I hope you can compile this new force exertion method into a secret manual and teach it to all warriors. It would be immensely helpful in raising the overall strength of warriors. As for the price, that's up to you to decide. Hong did not force Wei Wen, leaving him to consider it himself. In truth, not all warriors were willing to teach their unique skills to others. After all, if others understood their secrets, they might later turn against them. To put it bluntly, everyone feared being surpassed. This was also a root of Wei Wen's anxiety about insufficient strength. No problem, Wei Wen said after a moment's thought. But my main focus is on my own cultivation. I won't waste too much time on this. I'll only provide some basic guidance and suggestions. That's fine. Hong didn't mind. He understood that Wei Wen couldn't possibly single-handedly perfect all force exertion secrets. After you enter the elite training camp, someone from the Extreme Martial Hall will likely contact you after some time to produce and record the relevant manual and video materials. Once completed, your manual can be sold in our Extreme Martial Hall's online store. All profits earned, excluding necessary maintenance fees, will belong to you. In addition, this is a consciousness sensing helmet. It allows you to enter the virtual space for trials at any time, which will also help you improve your strength faster. Furthermore, I will also directly send you the related Spirit Master secret technique, Spirit Master's Foundation, through the virtual space. Luo Feng, in the original timeline, had purchased this Spirit Master's Foundation at a cost of 3-star level credits, equivalent to 3 portions of dragon blood, which was certainly not cheap. Hall Master, you are also aware that Luo Feng's talent isn't bad. Wei Wen said after a brief hesitation. Could you also provide him with a consciousness sensor and the secret technique? Given Wei Wen's own talent, if his method was only somewhat useful, it wouldn't be as beneficial to Luo Feng as having his own resources. All right, Hong agreed. Luo Feng felt a surge of gratitude when he learned that Wei Wen had secured a secret cultivation method and a consciousness sensing helmet for him. However, had he known that Wei Wen's primary motivation was to make him a more efficient subordinate, one could only wonder what he would have thought. Nevertheless, Wei Wen's actions ultimately benefited Luo Feng, making this a mutually advantageous situation. The main reason I wanted to see you today is to send you to the training camp, Hong said with a serious expression. Train hard there. I hope you will mature quickly and become new pillars for humanity. Understood. Wei Wen and Luo Feng nodded in unison before leaving the reception room. After they departed, Hong gently shook his head. Truth be told, after witnessing Wei Wen and Luo Feng's astonishing comprehension, Hong had considered taking them on as his direct disciples. It must be noted that to even qualify to apply for such a position, one must rank first in points within the elite training camp for at least 9 consecutive months, and even meeting that requirement was no guarantee of success. However, he sensed that while Wei Wen and Luo Feng held respect for him, they harbored no desire to become his disciples, so he dismissed the idea. I can feel the arrogance buried deep in their bones. They are not the type to easily bow to others, Hong mused inwardly, shaking his head again. Especially Wei Wen. He is undoubtedly a proud and ambitious young man. His calm eyes seem to see even further than my own. His comprehension and talent far surpass what mine were at his age. I fear it won't be long before he exceeds me. It all depends on how far you can go. I look forward to the day you stand before me as equals, as soon as possible. Sigh. Even knowing just a fraction of the universe's secrets has shown me its endless cruelty. A trace of profound worry flickered in Hong's eyes as if he had recalled something troubling. After leaving the Extreme Martial Hall headquarters, the trio soon arrived at the elite training camp and stepped through its spacious entrance. Just inside the gate, Wei Wen and Luo Feng were greeted by a massive black dragon sculpture nearly 50 meters tall. The colossal dragon's eyes faced the entrance, impossible to miss for anyone entering. Wei Wen knew these were the actual eyes of a king-level monster, still radiating the intimidating pressure and invisible aura unique to such a powerful beast. An ordinary person would feel an immense, unseen impact from a single glance, but Wei Wen's mental power was already formidably strong. He remained completely unaffected. Small display screens were embedded near the sculpture. Wei Wen began examining the rankings listed on them. No. 1 Chu Qiang. No. 2 Renates and Bridge. No. 3 Eben and Pass. No. 180. Judging by the student number at the bottom, Wei Wen deduced the last person on the list must have enrolled in March of that year. It seemed that in the past few months, the only new arrivals were himself and Luo Feng. Geniuses compete amongst themselves here, with rankings updated every month, Yang Hui explained succinctly. Competition creates pressure, and pressure fuels rapid growth. The ranking rules are based on hunting monster intensity, power level, and trial tower performance. You'll learn the specific calculation coefficients after you pass the initial assessment. As they walked through the elite training camp, Wei Wen noticed it was devoid of students. It appeared this month's life and death experience had not yet concluded. The core of the entire elite training camp is the 9-story tower, Yang Hui said, pointing towards a massive, pagoda-like building at the camp's center. It houses almost all the equipment left behind by ancient civilizations. It contains study and training areas, as well as specialized rooms like gravity chambers and virtual space rooms. Though called a 9-story building, it was as tall as a skyscraper with over 20 floors. Inside, maintenance staff were busy with their work, virtual space. Wei Wen's eyes suddenly sparkled with interest. You'll find out soon enough, it's a marvelous place. Yang Hui replied with a mysterious smile. Even though you have consciousness sensors, I'll take you to the trial tower first. You must at least pass the test to become official students. Yang Hui led Wei Wen and Luo Feng into an elevator, taking them directly to the 9th floor of the 9-story tower. They entered a large martial arts hall lined with numerous training mats. Yang Hui guided them towards a small room in the corner. Upon reaching the room, Yang Hui swiped a card to open the door. The trio entered the slightly dark room, and Yang Hui promptly turned on the lights. The interior was sparsely furnished, containing only a few sofas and 2 helmets, the very consciousness sensors Wei Wen and Luo Feng had just received. Our Earth holds many secrets. The most mysterious among them is the virtual space, Yang Hui explained, pointing to the helmets. Countless scientists have exhausted their efforts to finally replicate a helmet that can connect to it. However, the virtual space only allows consciousness to enter. These 2 helmets are essentially the network cables. You are about to enter the virtual space for your assessment. Remember one thing, the better your performance, the greater the benefits you'll receive. I know the B-grade assessment probably isn't your limit. Anyway, you have the helmets now and can attempt it anytime. Go on, put on your helmets and follow me into the virtual space. Following Yang Hui's instructions, the 2 donned their helmets. After booting up, their consciousnesses entered the virtual space. On a vast expanse of silvery land, 3 figures materialized. Wei Wen and Luo Feng looked around, discovering a boundless starry sky above, dotted with brilliantly shining stars, creating a dreamlike scene. Curious. Wei Wen and Luo Feng touched the ground, scraped at the gravel and air, finding everything felt completely real, with no sense of falsehood. The virtual space is truly magical, Wei Wen thought to himself. I wonder how much more profound a truly advanced virtual universe would be. The universe is vast and mysterious. The more we learn of it, the smaller we feel, Yang Hui sighed, noticing the awe on Wei Wen's face. Also, do you notice any difference in your strength? Luo Feng was silent for a moment, then shook his head slightly. His strength felt similar to his real-world capability, simulated here as a 1 kilogram boxing force. My physical body feels considerably weaker, Wei Wen noted. Because only your consciousness enters, your virtual body is matched to a standard template, identical for everyone. Even the Hall Master is no exception, Yang Hui explained. Since everyone is on equal footing physically, the trial tower level truly reflects one's combat prowess at the same level. It's a place to showcase your potential. Follow me. Yang Hui led Wei Wen and Luo Feng towards the only structure in this virtual space. This is the trial tower. It has 7 floors in total, with 3 levels each. Even the dojo master hasn't reached the top, he only reached the 6th floor. And even though it's only the 6th floor, many students in the elite training camp are still struggling on the 1st level. Those who surpass the God of War level typically only reach the 4th level. It's that difficult. Luo Feng was astonished. Wei Wen and Luo Feng arrived at the trial tower entrance, where their personal information was displayed. Name, Wei Wen. Gender, male status. Elite training camp preparatory student trial tower level. 1 name, Luo Feng. Gender, male status. Elite training camp preparatory student trial tower level. 1 Yang Hui's trial tower level was 3.2, indicating he was on the 3rd floor. The trial tower level represented one's achievement in clearing the tower. For example, each floor had 3 difficulty assessments, A, B, and C. Passing the A-level assessment on the 1st floor resulted in a level of 1.3. Passing the B-level assessment resulted in level 1.6. After passing all tests on the 1st floor, the trial tower level became 2.0 and so on. Thus, Yang Hui's level of 3.2 meant he had passed the 2nd floor's C-level assessment, but failed the A-level assessment on the 3rd floor. Preparatory students Wei Wen and Luo Feng, please select your combat uniforms and weapons. After selection, enter the trial tower to begin the test. A sudden electronic voice sounded. Immediately, styles of combat uniforms and weapons appeared before their eyes. They quickly selected suitable equipment and put it on without much fuss. The trial for Wei Wen and Luo Feng had begun. The B-level assessment requires you to kill 100 junior beast general level wild bulls besieging you within 30 minutes. If you die during the process, it is a failure. If the number of bulls killed after 30 minutes does not reach 100, it is also a failure. 100 wild bulls. Wei Wen smiled faintly. Such a test was unimaginable for ordinary warriors. After all, within the virtual space, one's physique was roughly equivalent to that of a bull. But facing 100 wild bulls, combined with the time limit for hunting them, it was no wonder many trainees failed to pass even the 1st level of the elite training camp. For Wei Wen, however, the B-level assessment wasn't difficult. His power level was 4. 9 times the standard, placing his strength far above that of the wild bulls. Perhaps just a minute or 2 would be enough to pass the assessment. The assessment begins. An electronic voice sounded, and a herd of bulls instantly materialized 100 meters in front of Wei Wen. The bulls immediately charged towards him, covering the distance in about a second. Each wild bull was massive, roughly 3 to 4 meters tall, like a small tank. Due to their size, only a limited number could attack Wei Wen simultaneously. Let's begin. Wei Wen's eyes narrowed as he swung his blade in a sweeping arc at the surrounding bulls. Swish. The blood shadow saber, carrying 4.9 times the force, erupted with power comparable to a high-level warrior or beast general. It sliced through the junior beast general bulls in front, cleanly cutting through several of them. The trial tower primarily tested combat skills, including power level, movement techniques, practical combat experience, and on-the-spot performance. Performance across the tower's levels varied due to these combined factors. While hunting the bulls, Wei Wen demonstrated his perfect level movement technique to its fullest, effortlessly weaving through the charging bulls while relentlessly harvesting them. He moved with ease through the herd, cutting down one low-level beast general after another. Mid a rain of blood, Wei Wen effortlessly killed 100 bulls and passed the B-level assessment without a single injury. Time taken, 1 minute and 56 seconds to kill 100 junior beast general level wild bulls. You have passed the first level, B-level trial. Congratulations, Wei Wen, on becoming an official student. Do you wish to continue the trial tower level challenge? Yes. Wei Wen responded without hesitation. The next assessment is the C-level trial. The objective is to kill 200 bulls within 30 minutes. Among the 200 bull monsters, 190 are junior beast general level wild bulls, and 10 are intermediate beast general level wild bulls. In Yang Hui's view, while the B-level assessment wasn't easy, it should be manageable for a genius like Wei Wen, who had comprehended the second level of the 9-stage Thunderblade in just 10 days. So when Wei Wen passed the B-level assessment, the relevant information on the black stone pillar changed accordingly. Name: Wei Wen. Sex: male. Identity: elite training camp student. Trial tower level 1.6. Seeing that Wei Wen had passed the B-level assessment and his trial tower level had reached 1.6, Yang Hui wasn't particularly surprised. However, judging by Wei Wen's clearance speed, he deduced that Wei Wen's power level was definitely not inferior to his own. My own power isn't bad either. My limit speed is almost the same. I wonder just how far Wei Wen will ultimately reach. Yang Hui couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. In the C-level stage, the herd of wild bulls was commanded by intermediate beast generals, giving the battle a semblance of structure. Facing bulls capable of charging at speeds over 100 meters per second, to kill several simultaneously in the blink of an eye required a high degree of control over both blade technique and strength. Unlike during the B-level assessment, where Wei Wen had repeatedly sought the strongest explosive power with each strike, he could no longer afford to be so reckless. The greater the power behind a strike, the larger the follow-through swing, which was detrimental in group combat. Even if Wei Wen only unleashed the third stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade, a 2.8x amplification, resulting in a strike force of 28,000 kg, it was more than enough to defeat an average beast general level wild bull. By not always opting for maximum explosion, Wei Wen could execute more strikes within a given time frame. He was seen sometimes using the first or second stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade to swiftly kill junior beast general bulls, and other times using the third stage to instantly eliminate intermediate beast general bulls. This controlled use of power made Wei Wen more efficient in dealing with the monsters, and soon, wild bull corpses littered the ground around him. Shortly after, Wei Wen passed the C-level assessment, and the electronic prompt sounded again. Time taken: 3 minutes and 10 seconds to kill 190 junior beast general level wild bulls and 10 intermediate beast general level wild bulls. You have passed all assessments on the first level. The next assessment is the A-level trial on the second level. Your goal is to kill 100 junior beast general level iron armored scorpions within 10 minutes. Do you wish to continue the assessment? Yes. Yang Hui was shocked to see that Wei Wen had cleared this stage even more efficiently. Wei Wen's clearance time had now surpassed Yang Hui's own limit. This indirectly proved that Wei Wen's strength and combat experience were already superior to Yang Hui's. Although I feel a bit embarrassed, I know better than to compete with a monster like Wei Wen. Yang Hui shook his head slightly. If his power is higher than the third stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade, but not as high as the fourth stage, doesn't that mean Wei Wen has at least reached the fourth stage? It takes at least 2 months to cultivate the fourth stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade. What kind of monster is he? With Wei Wen here, the elite training camp is about to get more interesting. Let's see what happens next. Yang Hui's expression turned expectant. The iron-armored scorpions in the second-level A-level assessment were relatively small, allowing more than 10 or even 20 to attack Wei Wen simultaneously. Furthermore, the time limit was significantly reduced, greatly increasing the difficulty. The second-level A-level assessment was several times harder than the first-level C-level assessment. Without perfect level movement technique, success at this stage would be impossible. Wei Wen, Possessing both perfect level movement technique and strong defensive skills, confidently charged into the swarm of iron-armored scorpions, saber in hand. Whenever he got close, the scorpions' sharp tails would strike at him like lightning. Over 10 scorpion tails stabbed towards Wei Wen from all directions, their angles tricky, their speed extreme. Yet, Wei Wen perfectly dodged the attacks from the surrounding scorpions while simultaneously launching his own assaults against them. Swish. A series of blade lights flashed, weaving a crimson waterfall among the scorpions. The sharp blade, empowered by thunderous force, sliced through the iron-armored scorpions' shells, easily breaching their defenses and piercing deep into their bodies for instant kills. The second-level A-level assessment failed to stump Wei Wen. Subsequently, through the B-level and C-level assessments on the second level, despite the increasing numbers and strength of the iron-armored scorpions, none could prevent Wei Wen from passing the second level entirely. Yang Hui, waiting at the main entrance of the towering trial tower, watched helplessly as the trial tower level on the black steel representing Wei Wen changed to 3.3. Although I had some expectations, I never imagined Wei Wen would pass the third-level A-level assessment so quickly and easily surpass my own trial tower level. Yang Hui felt a profound shock. The trial tower tested a warrior's all-around abilities, as every challenger possessed the exact same physical attributes within it. The higher the level reached, the more it proved one's combat effectiveness. As a god of war-level warrior and a teacher at the elite training camp, Yang Hui was far from an ordinary god of war. Yet, he had only reached the beginning of the third level, not even fully clearing its first stage, leaving his trial tower level at 3.2. The elite training camp recruited top talents from across the globe, yet dozens of students were still struggling on the first floor of the trial tower, highlighting its extreme difficulty. But Wei Wen, a newcomer who had only been a warrior for 2 months, was on the verge of surpassing him, a god of war in his very first test. Wei Wen's talent was the greatest Yang Hui had witnessed in many years. He was now eagerly anticipating just how many levels Wei Wen could ultimately conquer. Yang Hui didn't know how Wei Wen had passed this level, but he was certain that if Wei Wen succeeded, he must possess profound mastery in both movement techniques and force amplification. Luo Feng, who had just finished his own trial tower assessment and died on the second level due to his imperfect movement skills, had already exited the tower. In the blink of an eye, he saw Wei Wen's trial tower level and was utterly shocked. Wei Wen had now surpassed Yang Hui. Luo Feng feared a major upheaval was imminent within the training camp. The third level's B-level assessment requires killing 30 flying monsters, golden vultures, within 20 minutes. The horde consists of 190 at the elementary beast general level and 10 at the medium beast general level. Flying ferocious beasts, Wei Wen shook his head slightly. For a warrior or even a god of war who cannot fly, this is practically a death sentence. Furthermore, my strongest mental power is unusable here, but let's give it a try. Wei Wen looked up at the large black golden vultures swarming in the sky, his fighting spirit soaring. In an instant, the creatures dove toward him. Since he couldn't use telekinesis within the trial tower, dealing with flying monsters was indeed challenging. They held the significant advantage of flight, and generally, flying monsters were about twice as fast as land monsters of the same level. The monsters dove with terrifying speed. If Wei Wen failed to react in time and was caught midair, the outcome would be gruesome. Wei Wen began employing his perfect movement skills, rapidly kiting the golden vultures while seizing opportunities for counterattacks. The speed of their dives was so immense that he could barely keep up. Fortunately, his power level was high, and his force amplification strengthened his legs, granting him greater speed. His movement skills had also reached perfection. Otherwise, escape would have been impossible. Dealing with these birds is seriously troublesome. Wei Wen gasped for air, continuously fighting and dodging. Suddenly, 4 medium-level golden vultures took the lead, diving down and surrounding Wei Wen from all sides, cutting off any escape route. Trying to force a kill. Wei Wen frowned, then suddenly leaped into the air. Logically, the sky was the golden vulture's domain. His move seemed unwise. Yet, a slight smirk touched his lips as he swung his blade at the head of a medium beast general-level golden vulture. Wei Wen's power was immense, granting him a physique comparable to a high-level warrior. While his speed might not match the golden vulture's, his reaction was faster. Though the vulture quickly raised its head to peck at him, it was a split second too slow. After beheading the first golden vulture, Wei Wen kicked off its falling body, using the momentum to launch himself toward another medium beast general-level vulture. Swish, swish, swish. In a fierce flurry of strikes, Wei Wen slaughtered all 4 medium-level golden vultures. It's a pity my blade skills still feel somewhat lacking, Wei Wen sighed, shaking his blade with a hint of helplessness. His innate comprehension wasn't as sharp as Luo Feng's. Before binding with Luo Feng, his bladesmanship had been inferior. Even Luo Feng's blade skill level upon entering the elite training camp in the original timeline wasn't considered professional, roughly equivalent to the micro level of movement skills. Though Wei Wen had reached the expert level through system feedback, a significant gap still remained between him and the true geniuses of the elite training camp. It was worth noting that some of the prodigies in the training camp had already grasped insights beyond the perfection level, touching upon the realm of artistic conception. For instance, Candace, Luo Feng's future opponent, who didn't even rank in the training camp, had comprehended a trace of such conception. If I could comprehend blade and movement skills at the artistic conception level, coupled with my 4.9 X-Force amplification, I might even reach the 4th level, which is typically only accessible to those at the planetary level. Wei Wen shook his head slightly. The gap in realm for blade and movement skills is vast. Even if I fight with everything I have, passing the B-level assessment of the 3rd level is my current limit. As for the advantage in force amplification, the defense and vitality of humans at the same level still pale in comparison to monstrous beasts. Among planetary-level fighters, only Hong and Lei Shen had surpassed the 4th floor of the trial tower, reaching the 6th and 5th floors respectively. While Wei Wen had achieved remarkable results in force amplification, in other aspects, he still lagged far behind the planet level. Wei Wen had yet to exit the trial tower, meaning he was still attempting to progress. Luo Feng and Yang Hui, having nothing urgent to attend to, waited patiently outside. After a while, Wei Wen's trial tower level jumped again to 3.6. Damn, Yang Hui felt a pang in his heart. As a god of war, he had trained for decades, yet his trial tower level was only 3.2. Now, he had been completely and utterly surpassed by Wei Wen, a rookie who had just arrived at the training camp. Moreover, Wei Wen had already broken numerous training camp records upon his entry. Unconsciously, a thread of anticipation sprouted within Yang Hui. Since Wei Wen hadn't emerged yet, he wondered just how far this young man could go. This is exhausting. Even Luo Feng watched in silent contemplation. He felt he had trained diligently enough, so why did Wei Wen consistently leave him in the dust? It was clear that Wei Wen hadn't been this formidable before. Time passed, both swiftly and slowly. 20 minutes later, Wei Wen's trial tower level finally settled at 4.0. To reach trial tower level 4.0, he's not just surpassing the god of war level. Yang Hui's mouth twitched, his face etched with disbelief. Even if Luo Feng didn't fully grasp the significance of level 4.0, he understood the immense difficulty of the trial tower's 2nd level. Yet Wei Wen had not only cleared the 2nd level, but also conquered the even more challenging 3rd. This is bad. Wei Wen stared at the monster before him. Before he could even react, he abruptly twisted his body. Not only can I not survive this, I stand no chance of passing the A-level assessment of the 4th level unless my blade and movement skills improve dramatically. Sensing the overwhelming difficulty of the 4th floor's trial, a moment of clarity dawned on Wei Wen. He took a deep breath and slowly closed his eyes, feeling further resistance was unnecessary. His performance this time was already defying all expectations. To To push further might invite unforeseen consequences. A monster like Wei Wen, breaking through to the fourth floor of the trial tower on his first attempt. This achievement must be reported immediately. Yang Hui's mind reeled, feeling utterly hollow. He wondered if any current trainee in the camp could possibly match Wei Wen's results. "What's wrong with you two?" Wei Wen asked, seeing the complex expressions and unsteady gazes of Luo Feng and Yang Hui, as if he understood something. "I could clearly sense your blade skill wasn't exceptionally high before. The fact that you managed to clear the third level proves your extraordinary power," Yang Hui said, taking a deep breath. "You practiced the 9-stage Thunder Blade. What level have you reached now?" "I was lucky to reach the 6th level," Wei Wen replied with a smile. "The 6th level in just 2 months, so your force amplification has reached 4.9 times. Yang Hui was completely stupefied, though Yang Hui was deeply shocked by Wei Wen's mastery of the 9-stage Thunder Blade. He soon sensed something was amiss. Something's not right. With his current level of power, blade skills, and movement technique, he shouldn't have been able to clear the 3rd level. Yang Hui couldn't help but think to himself. Raw physical strength alone wasn't enough. Without sufficiently advanced movement techniques, blade skills, and overall realm, it was impossible to slay the required number of monsters in that instant. Furthermore, the 3rd stage of the sea-level assessment was filled with a great number of monsters, and the flying ones were generally faster than their land-based counterparts of the same level. No matter how strong one was, being easily surrounded and overwhelmed by the monsters was a real danger. Without profound blade skills, even the best movement technique would find it difficult to break through the monster blockade, leading to certain entrapment and death. "Forget it. This matter is beyond my pay grade. I'd better report it to the senior management." Yang Hui inwardly shook his head. Wei Wen had officially joined the training camp at the age of 18, yet he had already passed the 4th floor of the trial tower, reaching level 4. If the powerful figures outside were to learn of such a peerless genius, it would undoubtedly stir up a storm. Moreover, Wei Wen wasn't just exceptionally perceptive. Yang Hui also remembered that his genetic talent as a warrior was extraordinary. Wasn't he also a spiritual master? It was simply perfection, so perfect that it was beyond the imagination of any other warrior. Had even Hong been this formidable in his youth? Wei Wen, your current trial tower level is 4, and your fist strength is rated at 4.9. Your superimposed combat power amplitude is an exaggerated 19.6, Yang Hui said after a moment of silence. Coupled with you being a spiritual master, whose efficiency in hunting monsters far surpasses that of a pure warrior, it seems normal for you to rush to first place in your first month. Combat power amplitude equals fist strength level times trial tower level. Among the students of the elite training camp, the combat power amplitude tiers are as follows. 1-2 is considered low. 2-4 is considered medium. 4-8 is considered high. 8-16 is considered excellent. Generally, a combat power amplitude reaching 12 is almost always enough to break into the top 20 rankings. Reaching 12 often places one in the top 10. With an amplitude of 14 to 15, one can typically reach the top 5 in the training camp. It could be said that among all students who had been in the camp for less than 5 years, perhaps none had a combat power amplitude exceeding 16. At least in the current elite training camp, Wei Wen was the only student whose combat power amplitude exceeded 16, and it had reached an exaggerated 19.6. Furthermore, Wei Wen was a student who had just joined the training camp for less than a day, and hadn't even received any of the camp's various resources. His future achievements were somewhat beyond imagination. With Wei Wen's current potential, surpassing the God of War level would be effortless. First place. Wei Wen thought to himself. He needed to secure first place multiple times to obtain certain rewards. However, since he was unlikely to stay in the elite training camp for long, whether he was first or not didn't matter too much. Wei Wen did recall that Luo Feng had once signed a contract, which included various rewards for reaching specific combat power amplitude standards. Things like Dragon Blood, SS-grade combat suits, free technique manuals, the Black God suit, all were very good items. He wondered if he would be offered a similar contract to obtain these rewards. If possible, Wei Wen could reach the planetary level as soon as possible and possess greater survivability. And now, I am a genius valued by Hong, the founder of the Extreme Martial Hall. No one else would dare to provoke me easily. Wei Wen couldn't help but think. The Extreme Martial Hall was extremely united, and under Hong's protection, Wei Wen could develop fully. Once Wei Wen reached a certain level, he would fear no challenge. After Wei Wen and Luo Feng left the 9-story tower, Yang Hui took them to complete the relevant procedures. After finishing the formalities, there were still a few steps left, but they were now considered official students. Although the elite training camp was built by the founder, it secretly involves various forces, organizations, and countries, Yang Hui kindly reminded them. In short, the world of warriors runs deep, and ordinary people can't grasp its complexities. Given your performance, many forces will try to win you over. If you don't want to get caught in various power struggles, it's best to focus on improving your strength. Of course, I will also report your situation to the senior management. I believe they will soon offer you various generous benefits. Just wait and see. As official students, there's one small matter to settle: your student identification codes. Since today is August 28, 2056, the first 4 digits of your code must be 5608. There are no specific requirements for the last 2 digits. You two are the only ones joining the training camp this month, so you can pretty much pick any 2 numbers at random. 03. Luo Feng said after a moment's thought. 88. Wei Wen said casually. Then your future student identification codes will be 560,803 and 560,888. As there were already 2 people residing in the Jiangnan Pavilion of the elite training camp, Wei Wen and Luo Feng could only squeeze in temporarily for now. That very day, 2 new names appeared on the training camp's Black Dragon ranking. Wei Wen 560,888 and Luo Feng 560,803. Wei Wen and Luo Feng quickly attracted the attention of many. Certain countries, special departments, major forces, and families promptly received the news and immediately began collecting information on Wei Wen. They were somewhat shocked by Wei Wen's talent and quickly devised various rich plans and strategies to recruit him. After moving into the Jiangnan Pavilion, Luo Feng couldn't wait to enter the virtual space again, eager to check out the so-called basics for the spiritual master. After all, this was the only elite spiritual master training method he had obtained, and he was very curious about it. As soon as Luo Feng entered the virtual space, he applied for and received the basic secret technique for spiritual masters. Spiritual master power originates from the human spirit and soul, while a warrior's physique is the foundation and basis of the spirit. Luo Feng began to peruse the basics for the spiritual master. Spiritual master power can only be born and gradually strengthened within the human body. It is precisely because of this special relationship between the physical body and spiritual master power that once spiritual master power touches a person's or beast's body, it passes directly through it. Therefore, spiritual master power cannot directly exercise a warrior's body and must rely on a medium, such as knives, blades, projectiles, etc. The power of telekinesis can be virtual or real, and can indeed contain astonishing force. It can control objects from a distance and kill enemies from 100 meters away. This is the most common method used by spiritual master. If formless, it can silently penetrate a person's consciousness and kill the enemy without a trace. This type of spiritual master is also called an illusionist, like the white-haired spiritual master Wei when first encountered. After a preliminary read-through of the secret manual, Luo Feng's eyes couldn't help but light up. Without a spiritual master's secret method, Luo Feng had managed to practice controlling 3 flying daggers within 2 months. He was considered very talented, especially given his brain domain width of 21%, the highest in the world. Compared to someone like the Catalan Paulinus, who had only reached a mental power amplitude of 9 after decades of practice, the gap in their talent was evident. With the guidance of the secret manual basics for the spiritual master, Luo Feng felt he could avoid many detours. If I had obtained this secret manual when I first became a warrior, then by now, my strength as a spiritual master might be twice what it is now. Luo Feng was thrilled. Furthermore, according to the manual's description, a peak god of war spiritual master can control a certain number of flying blades and can directly break through to become an existence beyond the god of war level. Your bound friend has obtained the basics for the spiritual master. Congratulations on obtaining the 312 basic formulas of the Control Master lineage for spiritual masters. 312 basic formulas of the Control Master lineage for spiritual masters. Wei Wen's eyes suddenly lit up as he read the system feedback displayed before him. While he had encountered other foundational texts for spiritual masters before, he had always found them obscure and difficult to grasp. Given his current level of comprehension, making any significant progress with them seemed nearly impossible. The 312 basic formulas of the Control Master, however, was completely different. It could be considered the simplest and most straightforward secret method for a spiritual master to practice. As Wei Wen focused his thoughts, a stream of secret memories concerning the 312 basic formulas of the Control Master flooded his mind. The memories contained a vast number of complex and varied carvings, along with over 300 sets of practice catalogs, all accompanied by translated texts from ancient ruins. Just from a preliminary scan, Wei Wen could feel the immense volume of data contained within this secret method, far surpassing anything a basic-level spiritual master would typically encounter. Yet, despite its greater complexity, it felt significantly easier to practice than the former texts. Wei Wen began practicing the basic 312 postures as instructed by the feedback from the system. Once he started, he truly began to appreciate the profound and abstruse nature of this method. In terms of sophistication, it was vastly superior to the pictures of the gods found in standard the basics of spiritual masters. After all, the celestial catalog of the gods was essentially a monotonous catalog that required a spiritual master to control flying knives, repeatedly simulating techniques to increase proficiency. To put it simply, its cultivation principle boiled down to practice makes perfect and repetition breeds skill. By constantly pushing mental power to its limit in controlling the flying knives, one could achieve an increase in mental amplitude. However, this method made further increases in amplitude progressively more difficult. The foundational training method of the Control Master lineage was different. This secret method had been refined by numerous powerful figures over a vast span of time in the distant past. The secret technique that had emerged from this rigorous process immediately made Wei Wen feel the stark difference between the two. After just practicing the 312 basic formulas, a spiritual master like Wei Wen could tangibly feel his control over the flying knives improving. This rate of improvement was drastically faster than when he had no proper secret method, leaving Wei Wen utterly astonished. "What did you say?" Inspector Wang's face filled with disbelief upon hearing Yang Hui's report. He had just learned from Yang Hui that this was Wei Wen's very first attempt in the trial tower, and he had directly broken through to the 4th floor. This indicated that, in addition to his superhuman power level, Wei Wen's abilities in other areas were also exceptional. One had to remember that ordinary planetary-level experts typically only reached the 4th level. Wei Wen was only 18 years old. How long had those planetary-level experts been training? A genius of this caliber was probably unprecedented on the entire planet. Immediately, Inspector Wang entered the virtual space to verify the information once more. 4.0. Inspector Wang checked his smartwatch and finally confirmed that Wei Wen's score was genuine. A new warrior, who has only been cultivating for 2 months since becoming a fighter, has achieved this. If this gets out, the entire elite training camp, no, the entire world, will be shocked. Also, if I recall correctly, the better a student performs in the elite training camp, the more resources they receive. It seems we need to secure those for him. Luo Feng's performance is also quite good. We can offer him a standard reward contract. In reality, the elite training camp had set reward standards, but they generally required signing a gambling contract. For instance, in the original timeline, Luo Feng had such a contract. But for Wei Wen, were they considering granting rewards even before he signed one? Inspector Wang proposed a round-table meeting. Except for Hong, who had just entered seclusion, the other planetary-level inspectors had already received the relevant information. Since Hong rarely involved himself in routine matters, general decisions could be discussed and made jointly by the 5 inspectors stationed around the world, virtual space. The 5 inspectors of the Extreme Martial Hall Academy, scattered across the globe, had gathered in a mysterious conference hall within the virtual space. A round table stood in the center of the hall, with the 5 inspectors seated around it. Inspector Wang distributed the information on Wei Wen and Luo Feng to the others. Each inspector's expression shifted differently as they reviewed the files. Everyone, this is the performance data for Wei Wen and Luo Feng in the trial tower, Inspector Wang began, looking at each of them. Let's start with Wei Wen. He just entered the elite training camp today, yet he passed the sea-level assessment on the 3rd level of the trial tower. His final trial tower rating is 4.0, but according to the records from Xue Ying, his power level is only 4. 9. His body movement technique is only at the perfect level, and his sword technique is even weaker. So how did he achieve a trial tower rating of 4.0? Most who have just reached the planet level barely make it to the 4th floor of the trial tower. Given how short his training period has been, how could he possibly accomplish this? Could he be cheating? The trial tower's assessment is conducted by the virtual intelligence system left by the Hall Master. Cheating is absolutely impossible. Then what's going on, regardless of the reason? Inspector Wang said directly, cutting through the chatter. We only need to know that Wei Wen has reached trial tower level 4. That makes him eligible to sign a gambling contract. Based on Wei Wen's performance, I propose we increase the resource rewards for his training. We should provide him with resources like Dragon Blood and the Black God suit for free, allowing him to improve as quickly as possible. Old Wang, Dragon Blood costs 800 billion even at half price. The Black God suit is even more valuable. Isn't it unfair for a new warrior like him to receive them directly? On the contrary, I think these resource rewards are not excessive. In fact, they might still be somewhat low considering his potential. Indeed, with Wei Wen's talent, he will reach our level sooner or later. There's no need to hold him back in this regard. All the inspectors were seasoned individuals, and they quickly grasped the implications. Thus, the resource rewards concerning Wei Wen were swiftly confirmed. However, the 5 inspectors had differing opinions regarding Luo Feng's resource rewards, leading to a heated discussion. But before their discussion could progress far, they received the Hall Master's own decision on the resource rewards for Luo Feng. Seeing Hong's decision, the 5 inspectors were momentarily stunned. They had thought Inspector Wang's proposal was generous enough, but Hong's was even more so. Do you have any objections to the Hall Master's decision? An electronic voice inquired. No, none. One inspector after another responded quickly under normal circumstances. The round-table meeting's decisions were made by the 5 inspectors. But once Hong made his stance known, even if they truly had objections, would they dare to raise them? This highlighted the difference between an established powerhouse and a mere genius. A true powerhouse could decide almost everything. If one couldn't, it simply meant they weren't powerful enough. As for genius, that was not necessarily the case. After all, a genius's growth requires time and is fraught with unforeseen variables. It was just like the genius competitions held by the Virtual Universe Company. There was no shortage of talent. Many geniuses considered themselves the darlings of heaven, believing that even the Virtual Universe Company should value their opinions and give them opportunities to compete. But they never expected to receive a brutally straightforward reply. To put it simply, take it or leave it. Jiangnan Pavilion was the residential area for trainees from Jiangnan Base City within the training camp. It contained 3 separate pavilions. Since both Wei Wen and Luo Feng were from Jiangnan Base City, they were naturally assigned to live here. Currently, 2 other students from Jiangnan Pavilion, who had just returned today from their life and death experience in August, were also present. One was Shijiang, and the other was Zhao Ruo. Shijiang had been in the training camp for 3 years, and his strength was now quite formidable. After all, in the original storyline, even Yang Hui wasn't confident about defeating him when Luo Feng first arrived. As for Zhao Ruo, his talent and strength were inferior to Shijiang's. He had entered the training camp in the year 55 and currently couldn't even break into the top 100 rankings. At the moment, Wei Wen, Luo Feng, Shijiang, and Zhao Ruo were gathered in Shijiang's living room. I just got back to the training camp and didn't expect such a pleasant surprise. 2 new talents from Jiangnan Base City joining us this month, said Shijiang, a young man dressed in black who appeared lean yet well-muscled. Our Jiangnan Base City might not be number 1, but it's certainly never short on talent, added Zhao Ruo, a bright-eyed girl with short hair and an agile air about her. Under normal circumstances, among the 5 major base cities in China, only 1 person from any single base city would be admitted to the elite training camp every 5 years. To join the elite training camp at this time, you must have been specially recruited and passed the B-level assessment, right? Zhao Ruo asked curiously. Just a stroke of luck, Wei Wen and Luo Feng replied modestly. Being specially recruited and passing the B-level assessment is no mere luck. Shijiang said with a light laugh. Who knows, I might need you 2 to look out for me in the future. Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share infinite novel audio in the elite training camp. You only need to remember one thing: points and rankings. Shijiang advised, points determine your rank. The higher your rank, the more training resources you can access, and the faster you'll improve. It's a virtuous cycle. He was absolutely right. For instance, access to the gravity chamber, a relic of an ancient civilization, was offered to Luo Feng at the price of 90 units of dragon blood. But with only 1 elite training camp, how should such resources be allocated? The answer lay in the rankings. The higher your rank, the more time you could spend using these facilities. More resources led to faster growth in strength and vice versa. In essence, points were everything. Wei Wen, Luo Feng, I noticed you weren't at your residence. Are you at Shijiang's place? Yang Hui's voice called from outside as they were chatting. Yes, Wei Wen and Luo Feng responded. Hearing their reply, Yang Hui quickly entered Jiangnan Pavilion. Teacher Yang, you seem in a hurry. What brings you here looking for them? Shijiang asked, puzzled. No need for secrecy. To put it simply, the higher-ups are very pleased with Wei Wen and Luo Feng's performance. Inspector Wang wishes to meet with you. Rumor has it he intends to provide you with some resources, Yang Hui stated directly. What? Shijiang and Zhao Ruo were visibly shocked by Yang Hui's words. They had already learned that Wei Wen and Luo Feng passed the B-level assessment and were specially recruited into the elite training camp, which had already earned them considerable respect. But now, having just joined the camp, they were already attracting attention from the top brass and were even being granted resources. This indirectly indicated that Wei Wen and Luo Feng's capabilities went beyond merely passing the B-level assessment. They had likely underestimated the duo. Wei Wen's eyes lit up as he knew a little about Inspector Wang. He guessed that, due to their outstanding performance, the authorities planned to allocate them some resources. For Luo Feng, they probably intended to set certain benchmarks and corresponding rewards. Soon, Yang Hui brought Wei Wen and Luo Feng to meet Inspector Wang. Please have a seat, Inspector Wang said, his attitude towards Wei Wen and Luo Feng more amiable than they had anticipated. Wei Wen and Luo Feng didn't stand on ceremony. They found mats and sat cross-legged, mirroring Inspector Wang's posture. Shortly after, a staff member arrived and presented the relevant contracts. This is the official recruitment contract of our Extreme Martial Hall. It outlines your rights and obligations. Please read it carefully, and if you find everything in order, you may sign, Inspector Wang said directly. Wei Wen's recruitment contract was straightforward, filled mostly with rewards and obligations, with noticeably few restrictions. The rewards included several years of activity funds and Earth currency, things Wei Wen didn't particularly care about. However, Wei Wen also received the long-desired Dragon Blood, a first-tier force suit, the Black God suit, as well as SS-grade combat equipment capable of facing king-level monsters and more. First, let's talk about Dragon Blood. After using it, a warrior's physical strength could at least double. Wei Wen was currently close to being a high-level warrior, similar to Luo Feng's level when he used Dragon Blood in the original story. Therefore, the effects should be comparable, likely propelling him to the level of an entry-level god of war. Consequently, his spiritual master strength could reach the level of an advanced god of war. This was just from Wei Wen personally using the Dragon Blood. If Luo Feng also used it, his subsequent improvements would feed back to Wei Wen through their bond, further enhancing Wei Wen's strength. Perhaps with the equivalent effect of 2 doses of Dragon Blood, Wei Wen might even break through to the planetary level as a spiritual master. As for the Black God suit and SS-grade equipment, their value was no less than that of Dragon Blood, hinting at their profound nature. In short, all these abundant resources were readily available to Wei Wen simply by making a move and signing the contract. Even though Wei Wen had anticipated rewards, he hadn't expected the terms to be so generous. As for Luo Feng, his contract remained the same as in the original. He needed to meet specific benchmarks to receive many of the rewards, including the Dragon Blood. You possess excellent talent and comprehension. It would be a pity to waste time solely on improving your physical fitness. However, Dragon Blood can help you enhance it rapidly in a short period, Inspector Wang said with a smile. It's a shame Dragon Blood can only be used once. Any additional use would be wasteful. And Luo Feng, your performance is also outstanding. The terms our Extreme Martial Hall Academy is offering you are exceptionally generous. No other organization in the world could match this treatment. What are your decisions? Without hesitation, Wei Wen and Luo Feng signed their names on the contracts directly. After all, they couldn't let resources delivered to their doorstep go to waste. Wei Wen, your rewards, the Dragon Blood, Black God suit, SS-grade equipment, and so on, have already been delivered, Inspector Wang said, smiling upon seeing the signed contracts. As for Luo Feng, your rewards will be granted once you meet the relevant benchmarks and conditions. But if you can master the 3rd level of the 9-stage Thunder Blade within a month or 2, I believe you should be able to obtain the first reward, including the Dragon Blood. Wei Wen and Luo Feng were in the basement of Jiangnan Pavilion. Wei Wen entered with a silver-white suitcase containing the various resources. After stepping into the gravity room and closing the door, Wei Wen placed the suitcase on the alloy floor. A simple fingerprint verification later, he opened it, revealing the array of rewards inside. His eyes immediately fell on one test tube, securely nestled in foam. Within the tube was a golden liquid, Dragon Blood. As someone who had traversed worlds, Wei Wen certainly knew the correct way to use Dragon Blood. It wasn't for drinking, but for external application. Just how much will my strength increase after using this? He wondered. Wei Wen pulled out the stopper of the test tube, poured the Dragon Blood into his palm, and began applying it evenly over his body. As for giving the Dragon Blood to Luo Feng, Wei Wen had indeed considered the possibility, but ultimately dismissed it as entirely unnecessary. Firstly, Luo Feng would obtain Dragon Blood sooner or later, likely within the next 2 weeks. Since Wei Wen was currently in his hibernation period, using it now or later made little difference to his own plans. Secondly, even if he gave the Dragon Blood to Luo Feng in advance, the feedback energy wouldn't be enough to restore Wei Wen's own strength to the planetary level. Furthermore, there was another drawback to letting Luo Feng use it first. By the time Wei Wen got around to using Dragon Blood himself, his power might have grown too strong for it to have any effect. Therefore, using the Dragon Blood himself was Wei Wen's best option. In short, the lower one's strength, the more pronounced the effects of Dragon Blood would be. Just as Wei Wen had anticipated, the area where he applied the Dragon Blood began to heat up, signaling its activation. The thermal current around his body intensified, and his body temperature continued to climb. He felt as if thousands of ants were biting him from within. The sensation was a torturous mix of numbness and pain, somehow more unbearable than pure agony alone. Perhaps due to the system's influence, all negative feedback was significantly weakened. Otherwise, the pain would have surely rendered him unconscious. After all, even someone with a will as strong as Luo Feng's had fallen into a coma from the unbearable pain when using dragon blood. Sizzle tilde tilde, with the dragon blood's miraculous effects taking hold, Wei Wen felt every cell in his body devouring the strange energy within it. His strength began to surge repeatedly. Even the 2 times he had awakened as a spiritual master hadn't transformed his physique as rapidly as this. The genetic material within his cells was also rapidly evolving under the dragon blood's energy, shedding useless genes and optimizing the rest. This transformation, reaching deep into his cellular genetics, occurred at an incredible pace, thousands, even tens of thousands of times faster than his usual cultivation speed. As a mentalist, the enhancement of his warrior strength also allowed him to accommodate even greater mental power. Within Wei Wen's sea of consciousness, the dark golden orb at its center, shrouded in endless mist, was no longer rotating slowly as before. Instead, it was like a burst dam, releasing a massive amount of mental power into his sea of consciousness. The rate of release was thousands, if not tens of thousands, of times faster than normal. Vast quantities of nearly liquid spiritual power spread wildly, saturating his entire sea of consciousness and body. With this release from the spiritual master core, Wei Wen's mental power increased at a terrifying rate. The dark golden orb furiously emitted mist at a speed thousands of times faster than usual, if not more. His mental power, previously at a level close to that of an elementary god of war, now began to soar astonishingly gradually. The density of the mist quickly reached its limit and actually began to condense, forming droplets of mental energy. The mental power within Wei Wen's sea of consciousness now existed in a state where mist and liquid coexisted. Is it no longer effective? Wei Wen's body trembled slightly as he awoke from the euphoria of his rapidly increasing strength. 4.9 times the power, explosive force. He punched the alloy wall of the basement, denting it deeply with his fist. He followed with another powerful punch from his right fist, each strike leaving a shocking impression. Having suddenly gained such immense power, Wei Wen vented his exhilaration in the most primal and brutal way. A warrior's control over their power was profound, and Wei Wen could clearly feel his greatly enhanced strength. And the Black God suit. He had long coveted the Black God suit, a relic from the No-9 ancient civilization ruins. After all, it was an essential artifact for survival in the early stages. Being familiar with the original work, he had often contemplated how to acquire one, but he never expected to obtain it so quickly. The refining method for the Black God suit is quite simple. Essentially, it's a blood-binding recognition. Wei Wen smiled. Once worn, the Black God suit would automatically merge with the skin, absorbing a trace of blood. After absorbing the blood, the suit would be refined and undergo certain mutations. As a combat suit, the Black God suit represented an extremely advanced technological level. It could integrate seamlessly with the body, appearing as skin or retracting entirely, all according to the wearer's will. Black God suit. Wei Wen took out the suit and held it in his hand. At first he felt nothing, but after about 30 seconds his scalp suddenly tingled. Tusk tilde tilde, the entire Black God suit trembled in his hands like boiling black water, then slowly merged into his body. The entire refining process lasted roughly 20 minutes. Is this the Black God suit? With a mere thought, a layer of black instantly covered Wei Wen's skin. According to the original description, once the Black God suit was deployed, attacks from planetary-level powerhouses, those beyond the god of war level, generally couldn't breach its external defense. Of course, it didn't make him completely immune to planetary-level attacks, but it could weaken them by 90%. The remaining 10% of the force could be dispersed evenly across the entire body covered by the Black God's suit, making its defensive capabilities truly miraculous. Precisely because of the Black God's suit's incredible nature, aside from Hong and Lei Shen, no planetary-level powerhouse had ever been recorded killing another planetary-level opponent who wore one. With the Black God's suit, even though Wei Wen was only at the God of War level, his ability to preserve his life had been vastly improved. After refining the dragon blood and the Black God's suit, Wei Wen freshened up and headed to the 9-story tower once more. This time, many students had gathered there. Isn't it still time for the open recruitment? Could it be a specially recruited student? The students were surprised to see Wei Wen, a stranger, but didn't think too much of it. After all, aside from the 10 slots open for recruitment each year, talented newcomers occasionally joined the elite training camp. "Brother, are you from China?" a young man with short hair asked Wei Wen. "Yes, you too," Wei Wen nodded. "With you here, us Chinese have one more student. Keep it up." The short-haired young man said with a smile, "I'm not the only one this time, there's another," Wei Wen simply explained. "I'm sure you'll see her soon too. What if there's another newbie from China?" A slightly provocative voice sounded. "Ha ha," Wei Wen chuckled lightly. With a thought, powerful mental energy erupted. 6 SS-grade flying knives shot out from his boot sheaths, transforming into streams of light that instantly appeared and halted right in front of the man. No. The one who had just provoked, Wei Wen felt a palpitation upon seeing the flying knives. He sensed that if not for the elite training camp's rule against killing each other, Wei Wen could have ended him in that instant. The elite training camp wasn't without mentalists who could control flying knives at extreme speeds, but none could match the velocity Wei Wen had just demonstrated. This move alone proved that Wei Wen's telekinetic strength was, at the very least, at the medium God of War level. Moreover, Wei Wen could simultaneously control 6 flying knives at their maximum speed, giving him strength sufficient to sweep aside high-level God of War warriors. Although the provocateur's own strength was decent, as a junior God of War warrior, he was like an ant before Wei Wen. With another thought from Wei Wen, the flying knives silently returned to their sheaths on his boots. This time, as Wei Wen quietly entered a small training hall, no one dared to provoke him again. Only after Wei Wen entered the small training hall did the other students dare to start discussing him. "This new guy looks about 18, but his mental power is terrifying." With mental power like that, his monster hunting efficiency must be through the roof. He'll probably rank high on the Black Dragon list in his first month. In the trial tower, mental powers are sealed. He might not do anything extraordinary there. If he got a special recruitment, he can't be weak no matter what. Definitely better than you. You're still stuck on the first level of the B-grade assessment. I'm a newbie too, TCH, as if he isn't. Wei Wen walked toward a large punching force analyzer in the corner of the training hall. After switching it on, the machine's display lit up. "My punching force before coming here was about 24,000 kg. Let's see what my base strength is after using dragon blood." Wei Wen stepped forward and threw a heavy punch. This time, he didn't use any special force exertion method, simply unleashing all his power in a straightforward explosion. Whoosh, Wei Wen's fist shot out like a cannonball, striking the target with a sonic boom. Thud. The black punching pad emitted a dull sound, and a line of data flashed on the analyzer's screen. 60,006 kg. Wei Wen's pure warrior strength had now reached a punch of 60 tons. As expected, my genetic talent isn't as good as Luo Feng's. Wei Wen secretly shook his head. His guess was correct. 1 dose of dragon blood should have roughly doubled his strength, bringing his punching force to about 48,000 kg. In addition to the transformation from the dragon blood, the warrior's strength increased dramatically, which in turn greatly unleashed his spiritual power, further reinforcing his physical strength. However, since the physical enhancement occurred simultaneously with the dragon blood's effects, the boost wasn't as exaggerated. Still, it added about 12,000 kg to Wei Wen's punching force. Nevertheless, Wei Wen was quite satisfied with his current power. He was approaching the baseline for a junior god of war. Wei Wen was a spiritual master whose latent psychic power was far from depleted. A spiritual master's strength is typically 2 tiers above a warrior's, so he could be considered a spiritual master approaching the advanced god of war level. Of course, he was only approaching the level of an advanced god of war spiritual master, not yet at its peak. Even so, across the entire earth, aside from those who surpassed the god of war level, among the gods of war themselves, Wei Wen was already a formidable warrior. Only a very few so-called invincible gods of war could match him, and this isn't even my limit. Wei Wen's eyes flashed like lightning. This formidable strength gave him absolute confidence. The baseline punching force limits for beginner, intermediate, and advanced war gods are 64,000 kg, 128,000 kg, and 256,000 kg, respectively. Once his warrior strength reaches 128,000 kg, he would likely be a spiritual master at the peak of the advanced god of war level. However, Wei Wen's latent mental power wasn't just at the peak of the god of war level like Luo Feng's, it had planetary level potential. Later, he might also receive feedback from Luo Feng's own use of dragon blood. Perhaps, relying on that feedback along with Luo Feng's training insights, he could reach the planetary level. A planetary-level spiritual master could completely overpower ordinary planetary-level warriors. The staff of the Extreme Martial Hall were highly efficient. Wei Wen had just completed the relevant procedures yesterday, and today, a recording team arrived. It took Wei Wen about a day to record the optimized versions of the first 3 stages of the 9-stage Thunder Blade into instructional videos and compile them into a simple manual. It wasn't that he couldn't obtain the manuals for the first 6 stages of the original 9-stage Thunder Blade. Firstly, money was of little use to Wei Wen now, and secondly, creating the manuals was time-consuming. After some basic post-production, the materials were uploaded to the Extreme House as quickly as possible for all warriors. Review results for new 9-stage Thunder Blade category. Warrior evaluation. Super grade price. 100 billion Chinese yuan, full price, / 50 billion Chinese yuan, half price, requires 3-star contribution points, first 2 stages of new 9-stage Thunder Blade price. 10 billion Chinese yuan, full price, / 5 billion Chinese yuan, half price, requires 2-star contribution points, first stage of new 9-stage Thunder Blade price. 100 million Chinese yuan, full price, / 50 million Chinese yuan, half price. Requires 1-star contribution points. Following the review, the new 9-stage Thunder Blade will be officially sold in the Extreme House online mall. We will also reward the manual's creator, Wei Wen, with 10 billion contribution points, 4-star contribution level. We hope he continues to strive for greater achievements. After some time, the headquarters will coordinate with major forces worldwide to make the new 9-stage Thunder Blade manuals available for sale on their respective internal networks. Super grade, 100 billion. For just the optimized first 3 stages, the Extreme Martial Hall set a price higher than the original first 6 stages of the 9-stage Thunder Blade. But to be fair, the improved 9-stage Thunder Blade might hold more value than Thunder God's entire original set. No matter how high the price, many warriors would be willing to pay to enhance their strength. As for whether they could master it, that was none of Wei Wen's concern, though the new 9-stage Thunder Blade was also easier to practice than Thunder God's original version. Ding. Before Wei Wen could process everything, he suddenly received a text message. 9.9 billion Chinese yuan has been deposited into the warrior's account. Wei Wen's mouth twitched. Who could be this fast? The manual had just been approved and listed on the Extreme House, and someone bought a copy immediately. Hongning Base City, Extreme Martial Hall HQ, in a 100-square-meter office, staff in Extreme Martial Hall uniforms were responsible for operating the Extreme House platform. Suddenly, a powerful god of war noticed a new manual being uploaded. New 9-stage Thunder Blade. How did the lower-level staff let such an obviously infringing manual name pass the initial review and get listed? He was about to examine the manual's content to check for infringement. But before he could act, the manual was directly approved, with its price and other details already set. Clearly, this was the work of the Extreme House's backend virtual intelligence, which had directly reviewed and priced the manual. This could be considered Hong's own decision. What's going on? The powerful god of war was puzzled. Curious about the manual, he directly placed an order for the first stage, intending to see why Hong would personally approve such a seemingly infringing manual. After purchasing it, he instructed his subordinates, and soon they delivered the manual for the first stage of the 9-stage Thunder Blade. After a brief look, the powerful god of war was instantly shocked. An incredible force exertion manual, clearly more profound and elusive than the intent behind the original 9-stage Thunderblade. The god of war spiritual master took a deep breath. It's called the 9-stage Thunderblade, but it's actually more advanced than the original. No wonder the Hall Master personally approved it. If I had this manual long ago and practiced it to this day, my strength and power would definitely be greater. It's a pity there's no follow-up. Wait, let me see who created this manual. Maybe they can produce the follow-up stages after some time. Wei Wen, the god of war warrior, frowned. I'm familiar with all the warriors beyond the god of war level and most at the god of war level. This name doesn't seem to be among them. Although Wei Wen was somewhat famous, it was largely confined to Jiangnan Base City and the elite training camp. It was normal for this god of war not to recognize him. After Hong uploaded the cheats to the Extreme Hall, his virtual intelligence also recommended them to the backend networks of other major powers. Naturally, any secret manual personally endorsed by Hong received immense attention. Thus, a rumor began spreading through the Thunder Dojo. Someone had supposedly developed a new force exertion sword technique based on the Thunder God's signature 9-stage Thunder Blade. This was further fueled by the appearance of a new manual titled New 9 Stages of Thunder Blade in their own dojo's database, leaving its warriors utterly speechless. Initially, few believed it. However, there's no smoke without fire, and the rumor was backed by Hong's personal verification, sowing seeds of doubt among the fighters. This doubt turned to shock when a warrior who practiced the original 9-stage Thunder Blade purchased the new manual and immediately broke through his force exertion level. The warriors of the Thunder Dojo were astounded. They were even more stunned to discover that the Thunder God's 9-stage Thunder Blade contained obvious flaws. This was unbelievable. The Thunder God was acknowledged as the foremost expert in force exertion, a domain where even Hong admitted inferiority. The idea that the Thunder God's path could be flawed was a fact he himself struggled to digest, unable to suppress the horror and shock within. He also hadn't expected that Wei Wen, who was said to be very young, a fact easily verified, had not only optimized these flaws. Through intelligence reports, he had judged Wei Wen to possess perhaps the highest potential of any warrior in Earth's history, but he never imagined that potential could be so incredible. Bang, 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 hum. The Thunder God, deep in secluded training, frowned as the door to his chamber was knocked repeatedly. His subordinates knew better than to disturb him without urgent cause. What is it? Thunder God opened his eyes, his voice echoing in the quiet room. Master. A powerful war god from the Thunder Dojo said respectfully. A new secret manual has recently surfaced on the network. It's said to have been created based on your 9-stage Thunder Blade. After a simple purchase and trial, we were shocked to find this new 9-stage Thunder Blade to be profoundly mysterious. A manual based on my blade technique, and mysterious. The Thunder God pushed open the chamber door, his gaze sharp. You came specifically to report this. Are you implying this manual is more advanced than my 9-stage Thunder Blade? I dare not make such a judgment, Master. You will know once you see it. The War God Warrior did not presume to comment, simply handing over the manual. The Thunder God briefly scanned the contents. His eyes suddenly lit up, then he fell into a stunned silence, a strange quiet enveloping the area. What in the world? Suddenly, Thunder God's eyes widened. He drew a sharp, cold breath, his face filled with utter disbelief. The War God could tell the Thunder God's emotions were in violent flux. causing his body to react involuntarily in shock. For a warrior of Thunder God's caliber, with perfect control over every muscle, such a reaction was unthinkable under normal circumstances. That it happened now revealed just how profoundly Wei Wen's new ninefold Thunder Blade had shaken him. After a long moment of silence, Thunder God struggled to accept the optimized version of his life's work. On the surface, the new technique seemed more complex, but as its original creator, he could clearly perceive that its force exertion was actually smoother, more effortless. More crucially, after studying it, Lei Shen realized his own sword technique had indeed been on the wrong path. No wonder his progress had stagnated. I don't know how he created such a superb swordsmanship, the Thunder God murmured, filled with emotion. The perfect way to exert force should be like this. My 9-stage Thunder Blade is completely incomparable to his optimized version. If I had received such clear guidance on force exertion earlier, my mastery of the lightning domain would undoubtedly have advanced far beyond the 9th level by now. As if possessed, Thunder God kept flipping through the manual, meticulously studying the perfect force exertion method within. The concepts involved were a tremendous inspiration to him, a self-taught pioneer who had been groping in the dark. It was a moment of sudden enlightenment. Damn. But soon, Lei Shen was at a loss for words again, discovering the new manual only contained the first 3 stages. Fortunately, there are only 3 levels. If all 9 were optimized, I'd be too embarrassed to show my face. Yet, just these first 3 levels have shown me how to proceed with the rest of the 9-stage Thunder Blade. This has pointed the way forward for me. At this moment, in the Thunder God's eyes, Wei Wen transformed into a radiant guide and pioneer, his entire image growing even more formidable. As a newcomer to the elite training camp, Wei Wen held rank 181, an odd number. For the first 9 days of September, on even-numbered days, he was required to remain in camp for rigorous training. In the blink of an eye, September 9th arrived, an odd-numbered day. This meant it was time to venture into the wilderness to hunt monsters and earn so-called achievement points. That day, he followed other ranked students to City No. 1001, a deserted urban zone in the wilderness approximately 300 kilometers from the training camp, designated for their monster hunts. A surveillance satellite monitored the entire city. All students were restricted to hunting within its limits, both for safety and in accordance with camp rules. The elite training camp rankings were tied to points, which created potential for cheating through private trading of monster materials. Anyone caught engaging in such fraud would be expelled outright. It was also strictly forbidden to kill other students for profit. Any warrior who did so would be summarily executed. PFFT. An SS-grade flying knife transformed into a streak of light, instantly piercing the skull of a wild bull the size of a small hill. As a spiritual master, Wei Wen could fly even before reaching the planetary level, making him perfectly at home in the urban wilderness. While other martial students might worry about being surrounded, that was never a concern for him. Furthermore, with telekinetic strength approaching that of an advanced war god and a telekinetic amplitude 6 times higher, Wei Wen's hunting efficiency was exceptionally high, allowing him to accumulate achievement points rapidly. I started with 1,000 points. I really want to hunt a Lord-level monster. That would net so many more points. Wei Wen couldn't help but think. Points were calculated based on 2 main factors: achievement points and combat power amplitude. The formula was total points equals achievement points x combat power amplitude. Achievement points came from hunting monsters. Besides the material value, each kill granted bonus points: elementary beast general level, plus 1 point medium beast general level, plus 10 points high beast general level, plus 100 points elementary lord level, plus 1,000 points, and so on. For example, if Wei Wen hunted 2 elementary lord-level monsters, that would be 2,000 achievement points. Multiplied by his combat power amplitude, his points would be 39,200. However, Wei Wen had not yet updated his official force level. Currently, his points were calculated as achievement points x trial tower level. One might wonder, If Wei Wen had the ability to hunt Lord-level monsters for greater rewards, why didn't he? The reason was simple. Hunting 2 Lord-level beasts and turning in the materials would prove he possessed War God-level strength, triggering an automatic update of his rank to War God. The graduation requirement for the elite training camp was precisely to reach War God level. Unless one was foolish, no one would choose to hunt War God-level monsters and trigger an early graduation. After all, the camp boasted the world's finest equipment, instructors, and resources. It was truly Earth's holy land of cultivation. The first 28 days of each month were for earning points. Results were tallied in the early hours of the 29th, determining the final ranking for that month, which in turn dictated the rewards for the following month. Of course, when the next month began, the previous month's points were reset to 0, and the fierce competition started anew. This very system was what made the rivalry so intense. On the evening of September 9th, around 8 o'clock, vehicles from the special training camp arrived at the main entrance of the elite training camp. Students like Wei Wen, returning from hunting monsters in the wilderness, disembarked one by one. Every student stared in shock at Wei Wen's oversized backpack. Just the sheer bulk of it hinted at the exaggerated scale of the monster materials he had harvested. Many speculated that once Wei Wen submitted those materials and earned record points, his ranking would skyrocket. Quick, let's check the Black Dragon rankings. Wei Wen's ranking is definitely going to be updated soon. With his talent, it's very likely his first ranking update will be unparalleled. I wonder just how high he'll climb. Driven by curiosity, students hurried down the stairs and rushed toward the Black Dragon sculpture at the training camp entrance, their attention fixed on the shifting rankings displayed upon it. In truth, these rankings changed almost constantly and wouldn't stabilize until 12:28 a.m. on the 12th. But many knew Wei Wen was exceptionally defiant. Rumor had it he had mastered the second stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade in just 10 days. After more than a month, he surely must have reached the 5th or 6th stage. In any case, Wei Wen was seriously impressive. The very fact that Wei Wen could create such miracles suggested his power level and trial tower rating weren't far apart. Could it be? Another elite was about to break into the top 100 immediately upon entering the training camp. No, since only half the students had hunted monsters today, Wei Wen breaking into the top 100 was a given. What they were truly curious about was, what was Wei Wen's limit on this very first day? It's changed. Wei Wen's ranking has changed. An exclamation soon rang out. Look. How many places did he jump, from 181st to? First, every student and God of War instructor knew Wei Wen was powerful, but they hadn't expected this level of power. When they saw the ranking refresh once more and Wei Wen's name appear at the very top, they were all stunned, minds utterly blank. A rookie claiming first place on the very first day of his first month. This has never happened in the entire history of our elite training camp, right? It was worth noting that in the entire history of the camp, only 5 individuals had broken into the top 100 within their first month. Those 5 were all heaven-defying, peerless geniuses. 4 were already high-level God of War, and 1 had surpassed the God of War level entirely. With an achievement like this, Wei Wen was virtually guaranteed to surpass the God of War. Other students might not have submitted their monster materials yet. Wei Wen's ranking could drop soon. Then we'll wait and see. Time passed swiftly. Even without updating his power level, Wei Wen's points ranking remained firmly in first place. Update his power level. It was completely unnecessary. I heard Wei Wen has held first place for the past half month. Is that even imaginable? I heard that too. They say he single-handedly outshone all the veteran students in the elite training camp. It's a bit embarrassing for us, haha. For these students who ventured out daily to hunt, the first thing they did upon returning was look up at the Black Dragon carving to check the rankings. Wei Wen remained the unshakable, undefeated number 1. Even the most talented students were shocked by his accomplishments. For a new recruit, simply entering the top 100 in the first month was a special event worthy of being recorded in the training camp's history. But Wei Wen's feat of seizing first place in his first month could only be called a miracle. In this September of 2056, the upper echelons of power across the entire world were stirred by this 19-year-old Chinese youth named Wei Wen. Undercurrents swept the globe. Judging by his age, Wei Wen seemed almost immature. So how could he defy all common sense, seeing his strength soar madly in just a few months, and even achieve first place in the elite training camp? Was it truly just talent and comprehension? Yet, since ancient times, no one had ever displayed such terrifying potential as Wei Wen. If not talent or comprehension, then what other reason could there be? Every powerful figure was intensely curious about Wei Wen. Even knowing that Hong held him in high regard, some were quietly preparing to make their move. In reality, ever since Luo Feng's identity as a spiritual master was revealed, he had learned that Wei Wen was also one. He had even consulted Wei Wen about spiritual master cultivation practices. At that time, they didn't have the secret manual, so Luo Feng relied on his own efforts. Wei Wen's control over spiritual power was already superior to his. After obtaining the manual, while Luo Feng felt his cultivation speed had increased, he also encountered difficulties, one after another. Especially after mastering the third stage of the 9-stage Thunder Blade, the techniques Wei Wen had taught him before temporarily lacked a follow-up. Wei Wen was very concerned with Luo Feng's growth, as it was tied to his own. Whenever Luo Feng came seeking guidance, Wei Wen would instruct him. As for comprehending the 312 basic forms of the spiritual master, it was quite challenging due to their complexity. However, guiding Luo Feng's practice wasn't difficult. Although the secret method contained vast information, it was primarily conveyed through 312 diagrams. With Luo Feng's comprehension, Wei Wen only needed to demonstrate a few times for him to grasp it. As for the optimized version of the 9-stage Thunderblade, Wei Wen had already publicly released the new 9-stage Thunderblade manual. So naturally, he had no reservations about teaching Luo Feng the optimized version. After memorizing both the new 9-stage Thunderblade and the secrets of the 312 basic spiritual master forms, Luo Feng began practicing the Thunderblade and increasing his telekinetic amplitude. Luo Feng possessed high comprehension and learned quickly. He became obsessed with daily practice of the 9-stage Thunderblade. During training, he could also use his mental power to sense the sword's trajectory. Relying on the perception of force provided by his spiritual power, Luo Feng could practice the 9-stage Thunderblade even faster, effectively becoming an indirect spiritual master. As for his spiritual master training speed, it was even more astonishing than his progress with the Thunderblade. After all, Luo Feng's greatest strength lay in being a spiritual master. Your friend, Luo Feng, has gained sudden insight into the optimized 9-stage Thunderblade. Your comprehension of the optimized 9-stage Thunderblade continues to deepen. Congratulations on comprehending the 9th stage of the 9-stage Thunderblade. Your friend, Luo Feng, is comprehending the spiritual power. Your control over spiritual power continues to improve. Congratulations on achieving a spiritual power amplitude of 12. Luo Feng's progress is truly frightening, but now that he's in the elite training camp, it's not surprising his growth rate is even more abnormal. Though shocked, Wei Wen found Luo Feng's progress understandable. After all, under normal circumstances, joining the elite training camp would at least double one's growth rate, even in the first month with limited resources. Thus, after only half a month, Luo Feng's 9-stage Thunderblade, spiritual power amplitude, and other aspects were improving rapidly. Coupled with the advantage provided by the optimized defensive amplitude of the 9-stage Thunderblade, Luo Feng achieved even better results in the trial tower. His combat power amplitude reached 12, earning him the Dragon Blood reward. Your friend Luo Feng is refining Dragon Blood to increase his strength. Congratulations, your warrior physique and spiritual power continue to improve. Generally speaking, the lower a spiritual master's brain domain width, the easier it is to break through to the planetary level. For example, Dong, a planetary-level spiritual master, had a telekinetic amplitude of only 9. Take Luo Feng, for instance. His brain domain width was higher. Even if his spiritual power amplitude increased to 16, he still couldn't break through to the planetary level automatically. As for Wei Wen's brain domain width, although he had become a spiritual master, his mental power was stored in his sea of consciousness, not his brain. Otherwise, it would be quite the brain stone. Therefore, Wei Wen's brain domain width hadn't improved upon becoming a spiritual master. Naturally, one could say it wasn't difficult for him to break through to the planetary level. Based on his spiritual power amplitude of 12, as long as the intensity of his spiritual power met the standard, a natural breakthrough was assured. During Luo Feng's dragon blood refinement process, Wei Wen's physical fitness rose from the baseline of a junior god of war with punching force of 64,000 kg to the average level of a junior god of war with 96,000 kg brute force, and then to the level of an intermediate god of war. As a being whose hidden mental power had not yet been fully exhausted, the moment Wei Wen reached the intermediate god of war level, the intensity of his spiritual power was 2 full levels higher than his warrior level. Wei Wen's strength as a spiritual master had naturally broken through to the planetary level. The moment Wei Wen's physical fitness reached the intermediate god of war level, the dark golden sphere in his sea of consciousness suddenly swelled. Boom. In the blink of an eye, the entire dark golden sphere shattered into fragments. An immense surge of spiritual energy erupted, instantly flooding his entire sea of consciousness. Within this boundless mental expanse, currents of spiritual power now swirled and permeated every corner, spreading limitlessly. A tiny number of dark golden fragments were still mixed within, not yet fully dissolved. This turbulent, liquid-like flow coursed through Wei Wen's sea of consciousness like a Milky Way. The sheer volume of spiritual power it contained was astounding. Within this galaxy of spiritual energy, one could occasionally sense the presence of those remaining dark golden shards. Suddenly, the churning flow of mental power began to rotate. It spun faster and faster, forming whirlpools that gradually coalesced into a radiant galactic spiral. Rumble tilde 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 Wei Wen's breathing gradually steadied. The vortex violently expanded, and the mental water flow within it noticeably thinned. His formidable mental power and combat amplitude erupted, and his control over his power grew stronger. Whoosh! The now expanded, translucent stream of mental power abruptly began to contract, swiftly condensing into a massive orb of spiritual energy. The orb was translucent, with flickers of strange, multicolored light within its depths. That handful of dark golden fragments remained, still not completely melted. The mental power began to pulse with a life of its own. In this special rhythm, the dark golden fragments gradually dissolved, further strengthening Wei Wen's spiritual energy. As his power of thought coalesced, it seemed to transform into a planet of mental force, beginning a continuous rotation. At this moment, there was no dispersing mist, and the size of the watery orb remained unchanged. Boom! Within the boundless sea of consciousness, it was as if a star had gone supernova at the final moment of its life. A monstrous suction force was born at the very core. The mental orb seemed trapped by a black hole, shrinking frantically until it gathered at that central point. Buzz. Wei Wen's entire sea of consciousness trembled. All mist and currents of mental power melted away. In the vast mental expanse, only the core point of light remained. This signified that Wei Wen had reached the first level of the planetary rank. The light point was essentially the condensation of a vast amount of spiritual power. An invisible, strange wave continuously emanated from it. A planet-level mental force radiated outward, suffusing every part of Wei Wen's body and even extending beyond it. Success. A smile touched Wei Wen's lips. This is planetary level. The moment Wei Wen's first-level planetary spiritual power spread through his body, his originally mid-level god of war physique began to undergo a drastic transformation. The cells, bones, marrow, meridians, muscles, fascia, skin, every part of Wei Wen's body was undergoing an incredible metamorphosis. The genetic code within him rapidly decomposed, optimized, and recombined. His life essence was transforming. A breakthrough to the planetary level was a transformation of one's very life hierarchy, far more profound and exaggerated than any previous advancement through the 9 levels of the apprentice rank. Upon reaching planetary level, Wei Wen could now fly through the air without needing to breathe. He could even manage flight without relying purely on telekinesis. Only at the planetary level could one truly be called a spiritual master. The feeling of being planetary level is excellent. As the transformation completed, and Wei Wen felt his mental power catalyzing the changes in his body, he experienced an unprecedented sense of awe. His own body had gone from being a strong individual who had seemingly reached his limit and could grow no further, to feeling like a newborn in an instant. Breakthroughs in smaller stages were merely iterative improvements upon an existing foundation. But now, by entering the planetary level, Wei Wen had stepped onto an entirely new tier. As long as he had sufficient resources, he could advance from the 1st to the 9th level of the planetary rank. In Swallowed Star, there are 2 main training systems, the spiritual master and the warrior. Wei Wen, as a spiritual master, had now been promoted to planetary level. As for his warrior path, his spiritual master strength had broken through, yet he didn't seem to have awakened any special abilities. Therefore, it seemed that special abilities were typically awakened only when a warrior broke through to the planetary level. Late at night, whoosh, Wei Wen soared into the sky. This time, he didn't employ spiritual power, yet he still effortlessly floated over 300 meters in the air. Wei Wen instantly sensed that ball of light within his sea of consciousness. It was the key to his newfound ability to fly. The light sphere could also, according to his will, manipulate the magnetic field surrounding his body. This magnetic field could counteract the Earth's gravity acting upon him, allowing him to levitate naturally. A slight impetus would send him flying forward. After the mental power that once existed as a flowing river was condensed into a miniature planet, Wei Wen felt his consciousness instantly grow significantly more potent. I am now at the 1st level of planetary rank, but I'm only an ordinary 1st-level planetary. Wei Wen couldn't help but muse to himself. To improve my strength quickly, one method is to rely on Luo Feng. Another is to rely on treasures, like the Muya crystal. The attack power of a 1st-level planetary spiritual master ranges between 100 million and 200 million kilograms. Furthermore, upon entering the planetary level, the difference between spiritual masters and warriors becomes increasingly pronounced. The strength of a normal genetic warrior is divided into physical strength and force strength, because once a warrior reaches planetary level, they can release force. A force attack can reach 100 to 200 million kilograms of power, and their physical strength can also reach 100 to 200 million kilograms. Therefore, the base value for a 1st-level planetary warrior is 200 to 400 million kilograms, roughly double that of a spiritual master of the same level. On the surface, warriors seem to hold an advantage over spiritual masters, but this isn't entirely the case. For instance, the force amplitude of top-tier warriors might be 4 to 5 times that of an average planetary warrior. Even the Thunder God, one of the strongest, only reaches about 7 times. But Wei Wen was different. Before even reaching planetary level, his mental power amplitude had already reached 12 times. As Luo Feng continued to grow, his spiritual power amplitude could keep increasing. For example, before Luo Feng himself broke through to planetary level, his amplitude reached an exaggerated 16 times. If fed back to Wei Wen, his spiritual power amplitude would become even more monstrous. Of course, Luo Feng's situation was a special case. Another planetary spiritual master, East, currently at the 2nd level of planetary, only has a mental power amplitude of 9 times. As for strength, many were stronger than Wei Wen. For example, the world's #1 powerhouse, Hong, was at the 6th level of planetary, and the 2nd strongest, the Thunder God, was at the 7th level. Thus, Wei Wen planned to remain in the elite training camp for a while longer, striving to wait for Luo Feng to grow. Hongning Base City, wilderness area. A streak of light shot swiftly across the skyline, like a meteor piercing the void. The ability to fly unaided marked this individual as a planetary-level powerhouse. Powerful genetic force rippled around Atkins' form, occasionally bursting forth with a frightening brilliance. Fifth Elder. The three powerful gods of war below said respectfully. I trust you have already looked into what I tasked you with. Atkin gazed down at the three powerful gods of war before him. We have, one of the formidable gods of war replied with a frown. However, Wei Wen is now officially a member of the Extreme Martial Hall. That makes it difficult for us to act. Moreover, judging by his performance in the elite training camp, even if the three of us were to confront him directly, we might not be a match for him. I initially thought Wei Wen would be easy to handle, Atkin mused, weighing the situation. I didn't anticipate he would formally join the Extreme Martial Hall. Of course, given his talent, receiving an invitation is expected. Still, it complicates matters. He paused, then continued, but my intention is not to kill him. I merely wish to uncover the secret behind his rapid progress. Perhaps I too could advance as a result. As the founding chairman of the Palace of Gods of War, Hong strictly forbade warriors from fighting without cause. This was especially true for those who hunted geniuses. Should Hong discover such actions, the consequences would be severe. A certain planetary-level powerhouse had once tried it and ended up being pulverized by Hong's hammer. Although Atkin himself was considered the fifth elder, seemingly on par with the first elder, the disparity in their actual strength was immense. If he were to provoke Hong's wrath, he stood no chance. Being beaten by Hong would be a foregone conclusion. However, as seen in the original story, this man was profoundly ambitious in that narrative. He had even attempted to seize the wooden crystal left behind by Luo Feng. Neither Hong, Thunder God, nor the others were initially aware of Atkin's true ambitions. But after the battle against the monstrous beasts, as the world's top planetary-level experts fell one after another, Atkin's aspirations were laid completely bare. Atkin began targeting powerful figures from the Extreme Martial Hall, the HR Alliance, and other factions, even allying with other planetary-level forces to plunder their resources. Even when his schemes were exposed, he still pretended to occupy the moral high ground, preparing to pressure Luo Feng with public opinion before everyone on Earth. But Luo Feng paid him no mind. With Luo Feng's temperament, he simply acted as he pleased. To use Luo Feng's final assessment of him, he's scum through and through. I recall that students of the elite training camp are granted a short vacation after the 28th, suggested one of the gods of war. That's a good point, Atkin said, his eyes narrowing. We'll wait until after the 28th, when the training camp's higher-ups and the students have let their guard down, and then make our move. Time flowed quietly by, and in the blink of an eye, it was the 28th. Wei Wen remained firmly in the #1 spot on the elite training camp's Black Dragon ranking, a fact that continued to shock the world. All major factions had taken note of this prodigy. An 18-year-old who had claimed the top position on his very first day at the camp and held it ever since. It was now 10 p.m. Most of the students who had gone out that day had already returned. With only 2 hours left until the point deadline, barring any surprises, the final rankings were unlikely to change significantly. Seeing Wei Wen's name atop the list, students gathered around the Black Dragon sculpture buzzed with discussion. Achieving first place in his very first month had earned him universal recognition of his potential from his peers. About 3 kilometers outside the training camp, in a residential building, "Hurry up, set up the cameras. We need to record this moment," growled a European warrior as his subordinates prepared the equipment. "Captain, all set. We just need to wait now." As soon as he finished speaking, a projection flickered to life on the wall of the room, the live Black Dragon ranking list. Excellent. The higher-ups of the HR Alliance are very interested in Wei Wen. We must relay the information back to headquarters promptly. Also, this time we've been specifically ordered to keep a close eye on Luo Feng from China. After all, he's now broken into the top 100, and his ranking is impressive. Furthermore, as a spiritual master, he's destined to become at least an invincible god of war in the future. Understood. Each warrior responded with solemn expressions. In truth, it wasn't just this team. Intelligence personnel from numerous organizations around the Hong Ning base city were also closely monitoring the Black Dragon ranking. For every student high on the list, these organizations maintained extensive dossiers. However, Wei Wen, who had just joined the training camp this month, was undoubtedly the one who piqued everyone's interest the most. Despite his fame, having become the strongest, youngest, and most promising talent in the history of the training camp, Wei Wen typically maintained a very low profile and seldom appeared in public places. Aside from Luo Feng and his two roommates next door, Zhao Ruo and Shi Jiang, few others in the training camp ever saw him. Everyone assumed that Wei Wen's achievements were the result of secluded, relentless practice. Even without seeing him, they were deeply impressed by his perceived diligence. But no one knew that the hard-working genius they imagined was, at this very moment, fast asleep. Hard work. Could Wei Wen possibly have comprehended the 12th stage of the 9-stage Thunder Blade, or increased his spiritual power amplitude beyond 16 times? Neither was possible. After all, in the original storyline, it took Luo Feng's spiritual power amplitude over a year to reach level 16, and Luo Feng's mental capacity was exceptionally vast. As for the 12th stage of the 9-stage Thunder Blade, he didn't even have a secret manual to reference. It was uncertain whether the current Thunder God had even comprehended the 10th stage. Extreme Martial Hall HQ. Brother Hong, what were our achievements at the age of 18? Thunder God asked, looking at Hong before him. At 18, we were probably still running for our lives during the Great Nirvana. Hong sighed. During the Great Nirvana, as the world descended into chaos, Hong, formerly an assassin, seized the opportunity to rise. He eventually became the world's #1, regarded as a godlike figure by Earth's warriors. As for Thunder God, he wasn't far behind, now the second strongest on the planet. One had founded the Extreme Martial Hall, the other the Thunder Dojo. Though their factions often competed, the two men shared an excellent private relationship, treating each other as brothers. Back when we were fleeing, we faced desperate situations multiple times. If not for sheer luck, we wouldn't be where we are today, Thunder God reflected. Yet it was those past tribulations that forged our foundation, Hong acknowledged. After reaching the planetary level, I created the 9-stage Thunder Blade. The 9-stage Thunder Blade was once my greatest pride. Across the entire world, aside from myself, no one has fully mastered it. The strongest among others hasn't even comprehended the 7th stage. And you at the Extreme Martial Hall have all the luck. An 18-year-old who reached the 6th stage a month ago. Who knows how far he's progressed now? He might have reached the 9th stage or perhaps even higher. If you want to learn, go find him yourself, Hong joked. Thankfully, I've managed to salvage some pride. After a month in seclusion, I've finally created the 9-stage Thunder Blade. A smile spread across Thunder God's face. So that's why you came to see me today, to show off. Hong shook his head slightly, amused. Want me to go find Wei Wen now and see which of you is superior? Hong teased. With his planet-level strength, he was now capable of venturing into most regions on Earth. Lately, Wei Wen had found it difficult to make significant progress on his own, and even the feedback from his connection with Luo Feng seemed insufficient. Feeling restless, he decided it was time to venture out and test his limits. Wei Wen, with this 3-day break, do you plan to go alone or with a team? Asked Zhao Ruo, her eyes filled with boundless admiration. Wei Wen gave a slight shake of his head. His goal was clear. The Australian continent, home to the legendary Misty Island. As a planet-level warrior, he was confident he could use this short holiday to try his luck there. He might not obtain the Mu Ya crystal needed for a warrior's breakthrough to the planetary level, but securing some grassandwood spirit essence should be possible. For an opportunity like this, going alone was best. He would only take Luo Feng due to their unique bond. For anyone else, they were on their own. Wei Wen obviously intends to go solo, Shi Jiang remarked with a light smile. While the wilderness is dangerous for a spirit master, as long as you're unlucky enough to run into a king-level monster, you're generally safe. Frankly speaking, with Wei Wen's strength, forming a team would only burden him. That's true, Zhao Ruo pouted slightly. The elite training camp was the world's top institution, and Wei Wen and Luo Feng weren't the only spirit masters there. However, none matched Wei Wen's terrifying hunting efficiency. Through deduction, many had concluded that Wei Wen's current mental power had to be at least at the peak high-level god of war level. An invincible god of war. In contrast, even Shijiang was, at best, an average god of war-level warrior. The outside world was unaware, but Wei Wen was already a planet-level powerhouse. He paid no mind to the speculations and rumors. As a planet-level warrior, he possessed enough strength to protect himself. Backed by the formidable extreme martial hall, he generally had little to fear from anyone other than Thunder God. If no one else wants you, you can join my team. I'll take you in, Shijiang joked. HMPH, Zhao Ruo rolled her eyes. Wei Wen transformed into a streak of light, soaring toward the Hongning base city airport. According to his research, there was a flight to the Australian mainland today, and he had booked his ticket in advance. When can I be like Wei Wen, flying through the air with my hands behind my back? Tusk, that scene is just so cool. With our talent, surpassing the god of war level is probably just a dream. Look at how those female students are staring at Wei Wen. They all look like they want to throw themselves at him. In the training camp, every student watched with envy as Wei Wen flew through the air, standing on a shield propelled by his spiritual power. Candace, let's go, called out 3 young white men and women, coming. Candace noted the general direction of Wei Wen's flight, then turned and joined her team, heading toward their designated area. The climate of the Australian continent was almost the complete opposite of China's. While it was early September in China, not the hottest time but close, in Australia it was late winter, with temperatures very low. However, for Wei Wen, whose physical fitness was at the mid-level god of war limit, walking shirtless in temperatures dozens of degrees below zero was no issue. On Earth, the Australian continent, the African Sahara, and the South American Amazon were known as the world's 3 most dangerous regions. Since the end of the Great Nirvana period, the Australian continent had been completely occupied by monsters, leaving it with nothing but endless hordes. Around 10 a.m., a passenger plane landed on an airstrip in mainland Australia. About the location of Misty Island, the novel mentioned a massive lake with a radius of hundreds of miles, Wei Wen mused. Such a large landmark should be easy to spot from the air. It probably won't take long. After roughly determining the direction, Wei Wen set off along one of the several target routes he had pre-planned. Prior to arriving, he had done extensive homework, gathering geographical information on the Australian continent over the past month. Through simple analysis, he already had a rough estimate of Misty Island's location. With his warrior's communicator watch, satellite navigation, and his ability to fly as a spirit master, getting lost was impossible. His goal for coming to Australia was very clear: to find Misty Island. Wei Wen's figure streaked swiftly across the vast wilderness. With his current planet-level spiritual power and a spiritual amplitude power 16 times the norm, once he unleashed his full speed, most king-level monsters couldn't catch up. His entire body seemed to transform into a stream of light, instantly breaking the sound barrier and covering an immense distance in the blink of an eye. Covering 30 kilometers per minute was no problem at all. According to the novel, there's a mountain range near the coordinates where Luo Feng and Lai Yao had their confrontation. It should be around here, so Misty Island should be nearby. Wei Wen thought as he flew, constantly checking his direction. He followed a straight-line path. For a planet-level spirit master, there was no terrain on Earth that could hinder him. Whoosh, a stream of light shot across the sky and soon halted above the shore of a lake. In just about half an hour of flying, Wei Wen had found the lake that housed Misty Island. As for the monsters along his path, they had no time to react. Even if he did encounter a king-level monster, sensing Wei Wen's astonishing speed would deter it from giving chase easily, if it could even catch up. If I can gain enough on Misty Island this time, perhaps I won't need to stay in the training camp much longer. Wei Wen thought, gazing at the island ahead. His primary goal now was to obtain treasures that could enhance his strength. Of course, ordinary grass and wood spirit essence had lost its significance for him at the planet level, but it could be used to cultivate Luo Feng, indirectly boosting his own strength. If he could obtain some wood crystals, that would be even better. Before him lay a lake stretching over 100 miles in radius, but it was shrouded in an endless, strange fog. As Wei Wen ventured deeper toward the lake's center, the fog grew denser. Even with planet-level eyesight, he could barely see 1,000 meters ahead. Lake plus fog plus island. This has to be Misty Island, Wei Wen murmured, a smile touching his lips as the island gradually materialized within the mist in the center of the lake. Taking a deep breath, Wei Wen cautiously descended toward Misty Island. Though he had a rough understanding of Misty Island from the original plot, the fact remained that there existed a being in that storyline far more formidable than the island itself. What if a beast emperor was currently residing in the lake? Even if that beast emperor was likely specially cultivated by Babata after Hong took away the Cloud Vine itself was no easy opponent. Hong's personal guard, Ice Mountain, possessed considerable strength, yet he was no match for the Cloud Vine. If one hesitated in their escape, they could be killed by the Cloud Vine in a matter of moves. With Wei Wen's current planet-level power, his only hope was to avoid encountering these two beings. If he were to truly alert them, the danger would be extreme. The Cloud Vine, being a plant life form, clearly favors stillness over action. At the very least, it lurks deep within, Wei Wen analyzed internally. If Ice Mountain's guards hadn't used their special abilities to drain the essence of all the surrounding flora, and thus reveal the Cloud Vine's presence, I doubt it would have taken any action. After all, before Ice Mountain arrived, Luo Feng, Lai Yao, and the others had battled fiercely, even felling many tree spirits, yet the Cloud Vine remained hidden. Therefore, if he merely collected a few plant spirits, nothing should happen to him. Clad in his gray, black, and red combat suit, Wei Wen flew cautiously over Misty Island. His wariness of the island kept his objective simple this time, the Willow Heart. He chose this type of plant spirit for several reasons. It was easy to locate, and its existence was well documented. Secondly, the Willow Heart was the only treasure on Misty Island that could directly and harmlessly enhance physical fitness, and he knew exactly how to utilize it. An ordinary 1,000-year Willow Heart, once ingested, could dramatically increase a warrior's cellular activity, simultaneously causing a significant leap in physical fitness, an effect no less potent than dragon blood. As for a 10,000-year Willow Heart, it was said to hold the potential to elevate an apprentice-level warrior to the planetary level. Wei Wen wasn't sure if he could achieve a breakthrough with it, but the effect it had on Luo Feng in the original story was undoubtedly potent, and the feedback he'd receive would likely be even more profound and powerful. Misty Island wasn't large, and Wei Wen quickly located his target. Hovering in the air, he looked down at the 9 colossal willow trees below. 1, 2, 3, 9. The count is correct. They are willow-type spirit flora leaders, so this is the right place. With that thought, his SS-grade flying knives shot out. The 16 flying knives flowed swiftly, forming a cohesive unit, transforming into streams of light that shot toward the willow-like plant spirits. Sensing Wei Wen's attack, countless willow branches suddenly lashed out toward the flying knives. The attack power of the 10,000-year Willow King was formidable. For instance, the pale golden vines on its trunk couldn't be severed even after an hour of hacking by 4 high-level god of war. Yet, Wei Wen merely willed it, instantly controlling his flying knives to slice through the willow branches one after another. Clearly, with his formidable planetary-level mental power, the 10,000-year Willow King was no match for Wei Wen. Countless branches were instantly shredded, sending fragments flying in all directions. Swish! After reducing the willow branches to splinters, the SS-grade flying knives shot toward the willow trees one after another. With lightning speed, Wei Wen eliminated all 9 willow-type plant spirits and extracted their 9 willow hearts. Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share infinite novel audio. The willow tree itself wasn't the true spirit flora. This so-called willow heart was the actual spiritual core. Wei Wen could clearly sense it contained terrifying vitality and was one of the most easily absorbable forms of energy for the body. Storing the willow hearts, Wei Wen circled the island once more. After a long moment of hesitation, he finally chose to depart. The spacecraft containing Babata was buried deep underground on Misty Island, expertly disguised. If Babata wasn't willing to be found, no one on Earth would be able to locate the fallen Ink Star vessel. Unless Babata deemed Wei Wen unnaturally gifted, a spirit master worthy of inheriting his master's legacy, and thus chose to guide him to it. It's a pity the intelligent lifeform Babata, holder of the immortal's inheritance, isn't guiding me. This just goes to show my brain domain breadth isn't high enough. Wei Wen shook his head slightly. He knew these so-called spirit flora actually originated from the work of Babata, the intelligent lifeform within the fallen Ink Star spacecraft that had lain buried deep beneath Misty Island for 50,000 years. Babata's master was an immortal nearing the status of an immortal king who had been killed by his enemies, leaving his inheritance on Earth. The fallen Ink Star spacecraft was also severely damaged, completely unable to launch, forcing it to remain underground. Fortunately, due to Hu Yanbo, Earth was protected by powerful spatial encryption that obscured its dark universe coordinates, preventing its exposure. Ultimately, Babata's wish was simple: to find a suitable successor for the deceased Hu Yanbo, the criteria for an inheritor. First, they must be a spirit master, a box Wei Wen ticked. Second, they must possess an extremely high brain domain breadth, a box Wei Wen clearly did not tick. For instance, Luo Feng's brain domain breadth reached 21, the highest among humans on Earth. Yet, wasn't it true that even on his first visit to Misty Island, he wasn't chosen by Babata? The reason he was selected the second time was because Babata, having no other choice, realized Luo Feng was already the person with the greatest brain domain breadth on the planet. Speaking of which, Babata, as an intelligent being, had his mechanical body destroyed and essentially existed as a virtual entity. It would be difficult for him to leave the ship on his own without a special container. So, how did he detect everyone's talent? Deep within the underground fallen Ink Star spacecraft, Babata stood before a detector. This device's functions were extremely comprehensive, capable of even measuring an individual's brain domain breadth. As a planetary-level spirit master, Wei Wen was barely qualified, prompting Babata to administer a brain domain breadth test. To break through to planetary-level spirit master at such a young age, I thought he must have an impressive brain domain breadth. I never expected it to be this poor. Looking at the data displayed by the detector, Babata was dumbfounded. Logically, an 18-year-old planetary level like Wei Wen might not be considered top tier even at the meteorite's peak, but he should be the most talented spirit master on Earth. Seeing the brain domain breadth data for Wei Wen, Babata momentarily wondered if Wei Wen was a fake spirit master. Could there be an error in the data? The fallen Ink Star had been damaged for 50,000 years. Babata wasn't entirely certain about the instrument's condition. Holy. With that brain domain breadth, he can still achieve a mental power amplitude multiplier of 16. Soon, through observing Wei Wen's battle with the willow spirits, Babata discovered something astonishing. The higher the brain domain breadth, the greater the talent of a spirit master. For example, Tristan, after decades of cultivation, only achieved a mental power amplitude of 9x. But Wei Wen, although Babata couldn't leave the fallen Ink Star spacecraft, gathering information about Earth wasn't difficult. According to the data he found, how many months had it taken Wei Wen to become a planetary-level spirit master? Wei Wen's performance delivered shock after shock to Babata, making him doubt once again that Wei Wen's brain domain breadth had been measured incorrectly. Note: Babata in novel is male. Just as he was about to leave, Wei Wen's nose twitched. A faint, milky aroma drifted into his senses. The appearance of the rice fragrance Kugras crystal seemed to indicate that Babata was going to guide him. But obtaining the inheritance was useless for him. It was better left for Luo Feng, allowing Luo Feng to grant him an even more potent legacy in return. However, regarding the Wood Yu crystal, since he had encountered it, there was no reason to let it slip by. It really is a wood essence crystal. Wei Wen quickly advanced toward the source of the aromatic fragrance. Before long, he spotted a faint glow. It was a crystal emitting light. The translucent white crystal still wafted the scent of rice, so enticing it made Wei Wen's mouth water. With a mere thought, his spiritual power guided the crystal straight into his hand. The appearance of the wood essence crystal here confirmed that Babata was observing Wei Wen. Up until now, Wei Wen had sensed no activity from within the meteoric tier, leaving him unsure whether Babata was asleep, awake, or even monitoring the situation around the meteorite. Now, the emergence of the wood essence crystal clarified everything for him. He might not know his exact brain development capacity, but it was certainly not as high as the world's top two geniuses, who boasted 21% and 15% respectively. Yet, even so, he had managed to attract Babata's attention. This had to be related to the amplitude of his spiritual power. With such a modest brain capacity, but such formidable spiritual amplitude power, anyone witnessing it would probably be stunned into doubting their own existence. Right? Wei Wen hadn't originally intended to seek Huyan Bo's inheritance, but Babata held plenty of treasures. Wood essence crystals were likely piled up there. Since one had already appeared for him, more were bound to follow. Babata, how many wood essence crystals can a genius like me obtain? Wei Wen couldn't help but feel a secret thrill of anticipation. Wood essence crystals were treasures used by planetary-level experts for cultivation, and their effects were immensely powerful. With just one crystal, a mid-level or high-level god of war could reach the first stage of planetary level within a single month. With a sufficient supply, breaking through to the star level was even possible. For Wei Wen, who was currently eager to advance his strength, the wood essence crystal arrived at the perfect moment. He was currently only a planetary-level spiritual master. His physical fitness as a warrior had not yet broken through to that level. A single wood essence crystal could enable him to achieve a planetary-level breakthrough as a warrior. Of course, if used on Luo Feng, the feedback effect would be even stronger, given the crystal's remarkable efficacy. Wei Wen naturally began searching for more. Wei Wen circled the area around the meteoric tier, his mind occupied with pleasant thoughts, occasionally even delving deep underground. Any blind-sighted lord-level monsters that dared trouble him were naturally dispatched with a flying knife. Even high-level lord-level beasts fell to a single strike. 15,000 meters below the surface, within the Earth's crust, a blood-red meteoric star spaceship lay quietly embedded in the rock. Yet, even after a long time, the Yunmo planet spaceship showed no signs of damage, a testament to the terror of F-grade metal. Inside the spaceship's cabin lay only a few strangely shaped, immortal-level corpses. Beyond that, all was silent, but within a virtual space, the figure of the demon Babata appeared, horns on his forehead, eyes blood-red. He was observing a three-dimensional projection screen in the hall, which displayed Wei Wen clad in a black god suit and SS-grade battle armor, target locked, adjusting guidance cues, commencing lead-in. Undetectable fluctuations invisible to the naked eye, instruments, or mental power emanated from the Yunmo planet, traveling almost in a straight line. In an instant, they passed through stages of rock, reaching Wei Wen, who was searching for wood essence crystals. These imperceptible fluctuations directly entered Wei Wen's sea of consciousness, beginning to guide his subconscious. However, they could only guide the subconscious. If his conscious purpose was clear, he could still resist this subtle influence. I wonder if there's any error in checking his brain development capacity, Babata secretly analyzed. But after waiting all this time, I've never encountered a genius growing at such a speed. At the very least, based on his growth rate, he is already qualified to become an heir. Wei Wen is it. As long as you come here, there are more benefits awaiting. It's been 50,000 years. 50,000 years since the master died. I will surely fulfill his will, train an outstanding successor, and restore the glory of the Yun Mo planet. Wei Wen was unaware of Babata's actions. However, he was pleasantly surprised to find wood essence crystals appearing one after another. That light and scent ahead must be another wood essence crystal. In the darkness underground, a white translucent crystal appeared, casting a faint glow over the pitch-black surroundings. Wei Wen immediately accelerated, swiftly moving toward the faint light. Wood essence crystals were not only beneficial to humans, but had an even greater effect on monsters. In the original storyline, after consuming a single crystal, a mid-level, lord-level monster immediately broke through to the king-level, planetary level. Thus, when Wei Wen reached his destination, he found a large number of aquatic monsters already eyeing the crystal. Some had even attempted to swallow it, but the crystal remained intact, indicating that those monsters had burst and died. This temporarily deterred the others from acting rashly. Now, seeing Wei Wen flying toward the white crystal, the monsters began attacking him one by one, only to be easily slain. Wei Wen was as thrilled as an ordinary person stumbling upon gold. Excitedly, he pocketed the wood essence crystal before him. This is already the 30th one. But without realizing it, I'm going deeper and deeper underground beneath the meteoric tier. Wei Wen murmured to himself. It was worth noting that in the original story, when wood essence crystals first appeared, they attracted almost all the planetary-level powerhouses worldwide. Over 50 planetary-level beings and a large group of god of wars fought desperately over them, resulting in several planetary-level deaths. Yet, on the surface, they hadn't even secured 20 crystals. Here was Wei Wen, casually wandering around and encountering so many. As a transmigrator, Wei Wen had already anticipated Babata's actions. Sure enough, upon careful reflection, Wei Wen sensed a subconscious urge in his mind, a compulsion to keep moving in a specific direction. It seemed that as long as he followed this mental map, he would find more wood essence crystals. This Babata, trapped inside, is just resorting to psychological tricks here. Mentally prepared, Wei Wen wasn't easily swayed by Babata's suggestions. However, on the surface, he naturally pretended to be lured, slowly advancing in the direction of the search. After all, high-end hunters often present themselves as prey. This guy doesn't know what wood essence crystals are, yet he can guess they're incredibly useful. Quite a greedy fellow. Babata remarked with a light smile. But how could you, a mere native of Earth, escape the control of this Lord, Babata? In Babata's eyes, Wei Wen, pretending to be clueless, was happily collecting the accidental discoveries along the way, finding one wood essence crystal after another. Even aware of Wei Wen's extraordinary talent, Babata, still somewhat worried he wasn't being enticing enough, continued to toss out a few more crystals while Wei Wen searched. While moving underground, Wei Wen suddenly felt a sharp pain in the sole of his foot. Something extremely sharp seemed to have instantly pierced through the defenses of his black god suit and his SS-grade boots, directly wounding his flesh. It's worth noting that Wei Wen could use his mental power to scan his surroundings at any time, so he rarely encountered any danger. Even if danger existed, his mental power would usually warn him in advance. This time, however, he had detected nothing. It's unlikely Babata is trying to kill me, so this must be a fragment of the F-grade metal, hybrid copper mother. Wei Wen couldn't help but think to himself. Wei Wen lifted his foot and discovered a large gash had been cut into the sole of his SS-grade combat boot. Embedded in the rock beneath the gash was a blood-red metal fragment. Reaching down, Wei Wen picked up the blood-red metal fragment, which was about the size and thickness of an ID card. He was shocked to find it weighed a full ton. This incredible density alone instantly confirmed to Wei Wen that this was indeed a fragment of hybrid copper mother. With a thought, Wei Wen willed the hybrid copper mother fragment to slash towards an SS-grade flying dagger. Swish, swish, swish. As the blood-red streak of light cleaved through the SS-grade flying dagger, the dagger was swiftly sliced apart again and again, while the streak flickered back and forth rapidly. When Wei Wen finally stopped manipulating it with his mind, He was soon stunned to find the SS-grade flying dagger had been cut to pieces, as if it were tofu, facing an impossibly sharp blade. Clearly, the defensive gear and weapons on Earth, whose toughness and sharpness were comparable to that of Emperor-level monsters, were as fragile as paper before F-grade metal. Moreover, just moments ago, even the planetary-level force field armor, the Black God suit, had failed to withstand the sharpness of the F-grade metal. It seemed its keen edge could cut through anything on Earth. If a planetary-level warrior were to face Wei Wen wielding this hybrid copper mother fragment, any defense would be utterly useless. Secondly, the flight speed of the hybrid copper mother fragment was also astonishingly fast, clearly exceeding 10 times the speed of sound. One must remember that even Hong and the Thunder God, at the 6th and 7th levels of planetary level respectively, could not fly that swiftly. Furthermore, while flying at over 10 times the speed of sound, it sliced through air and rock without producing a sonic boom, operating in near silence. Before this fragment, even air and rock seemed to be effortlessly severed. The so-called resistance from air and rock was almost negligible, hence the fragment encountered minimal drag. It is known that the faster an object moves, the more astounding the various resistances become. Yet, even at its astonishing velocity, all resistance against this fragment was extremely slight, making the hybrid copper mother fragment a formidable killing tool. Even a creature like the golden horned beast would fear such a thing. Wei Wen momentarily wondered why Luo Feng hadn't used this object when fighting the golden horned beast. Did he sell it after venturing into the universe? The hybrid copper mother fragment was exceedingly sharp and a major lethal weapon, yet it hadn't been very useful to Luo Feng personally. Since Wei Wen had encountered it by chance, he didn't mind taking it with him for now as a life-saving tool. As a spiritual master, Wei Wen could control the hybrid copper mother fragment with his spiritual power, using it as a flying dagger to attack and kill enemies. Unless absolutely necessary, the hybrid copper mother fragment must not be exposed for now. Once revealed, who knows what trouble it might invite? Wei Wen understood this perfectly. This hybrid copper mother fragment was undoubtedly the most powerful spiritual master's weapon on Earth today, a metal of inconceivable sharpness. If exposed, others would surely kill to silence him, for the value of this blade fragment was extraordinary. Time passed slowly, and soon Wei Wen reached a depth of about 15,000 meters underground, already at 50. This Babata is willing to give up, but I should be close to the Yun Mo planet ship now, right? Wei Wen couldn't help but think to himself. Wei Wen scanned his surroundings again, even sending out waves of mental power detection, but still sensed nothing. Rumble. Suddenly, a rock near Wei Wen began to tremble and squirm, then made a whoosh sound like a bubble being blown. The solid rock in front of him melted directly into nothingness, and in its place appeared a strange sight, a silver-white metal hatch. The door was currently half open. Staring in shock at this bizarre phenomenon, Wei Wen realized this must be the hatch entrance to the Yun Mo planet ship. If you don't want the inheritance, you won't gain many benefits in the future, Wei Wen thought to himself. He wasn't planning to obtain the inheritance himself, as it was better left to Luo Feng, who would then provide him with higher-level feedback. Meanwhile, Babata, who had been observing Wei Wen from within the spaceship, was naturally satisfied with the scene before him. Both of them thought simultaneously the prey had taken the bait. Is this an undiscovered relic of an ancient civilization on Earth? Wei Wen blinked, appearing hesitant, while simultaneously probing inside with his mental power. Soon, Wei Wen discovered the scene he hoped to see. Within the passageway inside the hatch were numerous wood crystals emitting a faint white halo. Wei Wen didn't count them in detail, but there were at least several hundred, enough for a planetary-level powerhouse to use for a long time. Even though Wei Wen had anticipated it, his eyes still momentarily reddened with desire. Without hesitation, Wei Wen transformed into a streak of light and leapt into the spaceship's entrance passage, showing no concern about potential danger. He knew the entire Yun Mo planet ship was under the surveillance of the intelligent life form Babata, so he wouldn't be easily harmed. After all, Babata had lured him inside to continue the inheritance, not to target him. Otherwise, it wouldn't have used so many wood essence crystals to attract him to explore the spaceship. 100, 200, 300, 405. Wei Wen frantically collected the wood crystals from the hatch passageway. Including the previous 50, he had harvested a total of 500 wood essence crystals this time. Each wood essence crystal was enough for an intermediate or high-level god of war to break through to the planet level. 500 crystals represented the potential for over 500 planetary-level warriors, while the entire Earth currently had only slightly over 50. If used by a single individual, it might not guarantee a breakthrough to the star level, but it would certainly allow one to surpass the 7th-level planetary-level thunder god in terms of genetic energy. This was an enormous fortune. Even Hong and the thunder god would covet it. Therefore, apart from the utterly reliable backer Luo Feng, Wei Wen would never reveal that he possessed so many wood essence crystals. On the surface, he could only take out a few for now. Otherwise, the consequences would be severe. This stash was enough for both Wei Wen and Luo Feng to use for a long time. Wei Wen looked at the now empty passage before him, finding all the wood essence crystals gone. He also knew Babata must have more in reserve, but it was a pity he had no intention of obtaining the inheritance. Then, Wei Wen decided to retreat. Within the core control room of the Mo Yun planet ship, he found the hybrid copper mother fragment. There are so many wood essence crystals in the hatch. No matter how foolish he is, he can guess there are more and better treasures inside. But why isn't he coming in? Damn it. Is his next move to run away? As if hearing Babata's thoughts. Wei Wen turned around without hesitation, transformed into a streak of light, and rushed out of the Mo Yun planet ship's hatch. Babata's standards were exceedingly high. Having followed the immortal for tens of millions of years traversing the universe, what kind of genius had he not seen? Hong, who had comprehended a domain at the planetary level, was indeed perceptive. However, in Babata's long existence, witnessing geniuses grasp a domain at the planetary level was not particularly rare. Within the Ganwu universe country alone, there were hundreds of geniuses at the star level who had stepped onto the threshold of comprehending the laws. The number of such planetary-level geniuses was certainly more than a few hundred. Yet, the number of geniuses who could truly advance to the Realm Lord level was extremely scarce. After all, even those selected from the virtual universe company's genius battles might not necessarily grow to become immortals. In the 30 years within Chaos City alone, 1,000 out of 1,843 geniuses had perished. Clearly, many dangers could befall a genius during their growth. Having seen countless geniuses, Babata could often gauge the approximate upper limit of their future potential at a glance. He had once remarked that, without significant opportunities, star level or universe level might be Hong's limit. However, he had never before encountered someone as anomalous as Wei Wen. Wei Wen had only been cultivating for a few months, with no prior secret mental force techniques, yet he had directly achieved a 16-fold spiritual amplitude power. This was simply unbelievable. The allure of unknown potential was the greatest, and yet, such a genius had slipped right through his fingers. At this moment, Babata watched Wei Wen's actions in utter confusion. He could only watch helplessly, as the future successor he had finally chosen for the Yun Mo planet greased the soles of his feet and bolted from the spaceship hatch, as if a golden-horned beast were on his heels, disappearing in an instant. Is there something wrong with this guy's brain? Babata's mouth twitched. Logically, with so many treasures in this lake, and even the suspected ruins of the Yun Mo planet, there were obviously great secrets here. Why wouldn't he continue exploring? Of course, the Legacy's thought induction waves were inherently weak, only capable of influencing the subconscious. If Wei Wen had been exploring the lake aimlessly before, the waves would have subtly guided him to naturally discover the Yun Mo planet ship. But now that Wei Wen was completely unwilling to continue, the Yun Mo planet ship's telepathic waves were useless. After Candace received the news of Wei Wen's departure, he relayed the information to the HR Alliance. With Atkins' capabilities, pinpointing Wei Wen's destination was not difficult. Not long after Wei Wen left Mt. Fuji, a fighter jet entered the airspace of the Australian continent. Inside, the fighter sat a cross-legged planetary-level powerhouse, none other than Atkin. Search the coordinates of all warriors in Australia. The HR Alliance had methods to detect the locations of warrior-level and even god of war-level warriors, though their methods were somewhat underhanded. For instance, the communication watch, essential for every warrior, which they had developed, contained a backdoor. Since the communication watch was used for calls, bank transfers, and more, it had to be linked to each warrior's identification card and ID number. By tracking the watch's signal, Wei Wen's location could naturally be determined. Of course, they dared not reveal the existence of this backdoor, as doing so would provoke resistance from countless warriors. Accessing an individual warrior's location through this backdoor required at least S-level authorization, which Atkin, as a planetary level, naturally possessed. A massive virtual map instantly materialized within the fighter jet. At its center was a red dot marking Wei Wen's coordinates. Wei Wen was moving rapidly, seemingly heading toward an airport on the Australian continent. There's something off about this speed. Atkin was immediately startled. This feels close to east speed. Could he have already broken through to the planetary level? When did Wei Wen break through to the planetary level? When he broke through wasn't critically important. Even if Wei Wen had reached the planetary level, Atkin didn't consider him a match. Wei Wen's growth rate is terrifyingly fast. Fortunately, I acted early. If I had waited any longer, even I might not have been able to handle him. Atkin narrowed his eyes. This trip not only secured the spiritual plants and trees, but also unexpectedly yielded a large batch of wood essence crystals. I'm returning fully loaded. Wei Wen left in high spirits. As for the abandoned Babata, that fellow wouldn't be able to get out for quite some time anyway, so Wei Wen wasn't worried about being harassed by him now. Furthermore, he and Luo Feng were best friends. Even if Babata chose Luo Feng in the future, he would eventually see the light of day again. If Babata tried to cause trouble for Wei Wen, Luo Feng wouldn't stand for it. Of course, Wei Wen was also concerned about one issue: the feedback from his strength. It would be problematic if Luo Feng's growth caused him to inexplicably break through to the universe level before the genius battles. Therefore, in the future, he should use treasures like the spiritual plants and trees and wood essence crystals, which enhance strength as sparingly as possible. Fortunately, the gaps between planetary level, star level, and universe level were immense. According to the novel, the gap between planetary level 9 and star level 1 was more than tenfold. As long as he was cautious and avoided rashly using power-boosting treasures, he wouldn't be inexplicably promoted to star level by relying on Luo Feng's feedback. So, for now, the allocation of the spiritual plants and trees was for Luo Feng to use. Wei Wen only needed to lie low and steadily improve. Having grown to this point, it seems there are only 1 or 2 minor crises left before the genius battles. After leaving the mountain, Wei Wen also contemplated future plans. In the novel Golden Horned Beast Crisis, Earth civilization employed every means available. Hong and Thunder God burned their souls and fought to the death using their domains, but still failed to defeat it. Luo Feng, along with Xue Ying and 5 other powerhouses, sacrificed their lives in a desperate battle to seize the Golden Horned Beast's body and resolve the crisis. However, because of Wei Wen's existence, what was originally a 98% certainty could now be easily handled. After all, Wei Wen had obtained the wood essence crystal more than 2 years ahead of schedule. By the time the Golden Horned Beast arrived, what level would Luo Feng have reached? To what extent would Wei Wen's feedback grow? As for the space adventurers, perhaps Wei Wen and Luo Feng could venture into the universe ahead of time to purchase some star-level or even universe-level slaves. That wouldn't be a problem. They might even become Earth Lords in advance, naturally averting this crisis. The key was money. The money issue shouldn't be a major problem. We'll figure it out later, Wei Wen thought to himself. Earth had abundant resources. Raising funds by selling some shouldn't be difficult. Suddenly, a sweep of Wei Wen's mental force instantly detected an uninvited guest. A strange planetary-level powerhouse is approaching. Judging by the direction, is he coming for me? Just as Wei Wen was pondering the future, he saw with his naked eyes a figure flying toward him at high speed, stopping directly in front of him. Seeing that this person wasn't a spiritual master yet could fly, he must be a planetary-level warrior. Atkins' gaze, which initially seemed dull, instantly erupted with a frightening intensity. Who is he? A cold light flashed in Wei Wen's eyes. It seems he wants to kill me. Who are you? Are you here to kill me? Wei Wen asked, feigning doubt. Atkin was inherently suspicious and intelligent. For example, after Yan Hai's death in the original storyline, he quickly deduced it might have been Luo Feng's doing. Seeing the look in Wei Wen's eyes now gave him an uneasy feeling. Logically, Wei Wen was at most a newly broken through planetary level. He shouldn't evoke such unease. After all, Atkin was ranked among the top 5 at the planetary level. Shouldn't a newly promoted planetary level like Wei Wen tremble and bow upon seeing him? I am the 5th Elder, Atkin. However, I don't necessarily have to kill you, Atkin replied with a calm smile. As long as you tell me how you've been growing so rapidly, I might let you go. Wei Wen's demeanor was off, prompting Atkin not to act immediately. You've advanced incredibly fast. Could your achievements really be due solely to talent and comprehension? Atkin asked. You've only been a warrior for a few months, yet you seem to have already reached the planetary level as a spiritual master. No one on Earth has ever displayed genius on your level. Atkin said with a smile, if you claim it's all down to talent, do you think I'd believe you? I even suspect you possess some treasure that can rapidly enhance your strength. What if I say I have no such treasure? Wei Wen raised an eyebrow. To be honest, the reason for Wei Wen's rapid growth wasn't a treasure, but the feedback from Luo Feng. You've just broken through to the planet level, yet you show no fear of me whatsoever. I don't believe you lack backing. Atkin's eyes narrowed. Perhaps if I don't take action, you'll never comprehend the gap between us, nor will I be able to force you to reveal your secret or hand over that treasure that accelerates your growth. You dare to act. Aren't you afraid of satellite surveillance? Wei Wen asked, slightly puzzled. You know Hong and Thunder God have explicitly forbidden unjustified battles between warriors. Warriors, especially planetary-level experts, could not fight amongst themselves arbitrarily, or they would surely incur Hong's wrath. For instance, a certain planetary-level warrior who once killed a lower-level warrior was personally executed by Hong. Even though Hong might be inferior to him in raw strength and speed, his comprehension of the domain made him virtually invincible among planetary-level warriors. Wei Wen couldn't afford to offend him at present. The Australian continent is deserted. There aren't many satellites monitoring it. Atkin revealed a strange smile. At least, I'm certain no satellite can detect what I'm about to do to you now. Atkin resembled a superior emperor, gazing down coldly at Wei Wen as if he already held his victory. I see. Wei Wen took a deep breath. Then let me witness the strength of the 5th Elder. Among the 5 speakers, aside from East, the others were all warriors. According to the intelligence from Ruin No. 9, there were 2 planetary 3rd-level warriors on Earth. They had to be the 3rd Elder, Ice Emperor Mo Henderson, and the 5th Elder before him, Atkin. It's been a long, long time since anyone dared speak to me like this. An 18-year-old brat, acting so presumptuous before me, Atkin said confidently. Today, on behalf of your hall's leader, I'll teach you a lesson and let you see true strength. Did he become the 5th Elder through flattery? Perhaps he wasn't a match for the 2nd-level planetary realm spiritual master East, but he certainly wouldn't fear a spiritualist who had just stepped into the planetary realm. Atkin threw a punch, striking out like lightning. The specially made glove on his fist bore fierce blade-like spikes. Wei Wen focused his mind, and SS-grade flying knives shot out instantly. As a spiritual master, the speed at which he could control his flying knives far exceeded the velocity of Atkin's punch. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A series of sharp sonic booms erupted, the very space seeming disrupted by the flying knives. Several coldly glinting flying knives instantly bridged the 50-meter gap between them, hurtling toward Atkin amidst violently rotating air currents. So many flying knives. Atkin quickly retreated, no longer holding back. He drew the longsword from his back. The amplitude of your spiritual power is greater than East's. I thought I could injure you with just my fists, but I didn't expect such power. It seems I truly can't defeat you without going all out. While a warrior's flight speed might not be exceptional, their sword-swinging speed could be extremely fast, given the sword's relatively low resistance. For example, senior cadets in the 4th or 5th year of the elite training camp, if they applied themselves, most could comprehend the perfect level of movement and swordsmanship, with some even reaching the artistic conception level. As one of Earth's top planetary-level warriors, Atkin's talent was naturally exceptional. Both his swordsmanship and movement had reached the artistic conception level. Swish. Swish, as the flying knives closed in, Atkin successively dodged several. Of course, the flying knives' speed surpassed movement speed. Even at the artistic conception level, he couldn't guarantee dodging them all. Clang, clang, but the knives he couldn't evade were parried one by one with his sword. One flying knife merely grazed the longsword, altering its trajectory slightly, yet still shot straight toward Atkin's abdomen. The defense of an SS-grade suit was extremely robust, let alone Atkin's Black God suit. A flying knife slammed into Atkin's body. Its formidable penetrating power was instantly weakened by 90% through the Black God suit's dispersion, with the remaining force spread across his entire physique. Merely first-level planetary realm spiritual power intensity, Atkin snorted. His body involuntarily stumbled back 7 or 8 meters before completely dissipating the force. You can barely rival East on equal footing. With your first-stage planetary-level spiritual power, you pose no threat to me. I advise you to surrender now, hand over the treasure that rapidly increases strength, and you might spare your life. Your speed is too slow, you probably can't even hit me, Wei Wen grinned at Atkin. It was clear SS-grade flying knives couldn't breach the defense of the SS-grade combat uniform enhanced by the Black God suit. The physique of a third-stage planetary-level warrior was incredibly robust. Killing him with flying knives alone was difficult, HMPH. Atkin snorted coldly. The SS-grade flying knives were like dozens of stubborn pests encircling him. They might not kill him, but he couldn't ignore them and dared not be careless. A single lapse, allowing a flying knife to strike an eye unprotected by the Black God suit, could mean instant death. Seeing the unfavorable situation, Atkin couldn't help but glance at Wei Wen, who was controlling the flying knives from a distance, and conceived the idea of to catch a thief, first catch the king. Enduring the impact of a flying knife, Atkin used the force to propel himself forward, swiftly dodging and charging toward Wei Wen. Logically, if Wei Wen was exposed, he should flee. But Atkin, aiming for the leader, seemed to meet Wei Wen's expectant gaze. In his view, Wei Wen couldn't release force externally, clearly indicating he wasn't planetary level in that aspect. Even if Wei Wen's warrior strength had reached the planet level, Atkin believed Wei Wen was no match for him in close combat. As for Wei Wen killing him, he didn't believe Wei Wen's SS-grade flying knives could penetrate the combined defense of the SS-grade combat uniform and Black God suit. Though Atkin sensed something amiss, he didn't dwell on it. And he had no time to overthink, for he was shocked to see Wei Wen actually rushing toward him as well. Whoosh, whoosh, as the gleam of flying knives flashed, the light of daggers swiftly enveloped Atkin. But Atkin was like a venomous snake hidden in the dark night, his body movements bizarrely elusive. His longsword effortlessly parried wave after wave of Wei Wen's flying knives, and while blocking, Atkin closed the distance again and again. Swish. Atkin transformed into a streak of light, his sword actually scraping against the edge of the SS-grade hexagonal shield. The long, slender blade bent instantly upon contact, whipping around. The sword's edge wrapped around Wei Wen's left arm, holding the shield, and slashed at the Black God suit. Thud, with that simple impact, Wei Wen was forced back involuntarily. A trace of blood escaped the corner of his mouth, and his right arm bent and broke at an irregular angle. I thought you had some grand move, but it seems that's all there is to it. Atkin couldn't help but sigh in relief, seeing he could injure Wei Wen so easily. You're the one who's going to die. The corner of Wei Wen's mouth curled up slightly. Whoosh, a stream of blood-red light shot toward Atkin. Given their distance and the speed of the red poppy copper mother, Atkin had no way to avoid or evade it. PFFT. The SS-class combat suit possessed formidable defensive capabilities, yet before the shard of red titanium copper, it tore as easily as paper. Even the Black God suit, impervious to attacks from planetary-level warriors, was sliced open without resistance. Having pierced through both the SS-class combat suit and the Black God suit, the red titanium copper shard drove straight into Atkin's heart. How is this possible? Atkin raised his head, a spray of bright red blood erupting from his mouth before his body went limp and collapsed. Given the vitality of a planetary-level expert, only a direct strike to the heart or head could cause instant death. Wei Wen made sure Atkin would perish utterly. The formidable red titanium copper shard roamed freely within Atkin's body. It surged into his skull, causing it to burst apart, then swiftly retraced its path through the original wound. Blood spattered wildly across Atkin's corpse. Haya. Only after confirming Atkin's complete demise did Wei Wen finally let out a long sigh of relief. As for his severed arm, that was actually a simple matter to resolve. For instance, Luo Feng's brother, Luo Hue, had suffered from a broken leg for years, yet a single dose of life essence water had restored it instantly. Wei Wen's own vitality was far stronger. Purchasing a portion of life essence water would effortlessly solve his arm problem. And the cost. Was Wei Wen short on funds? Hello, a deep voice came through the communication. Hello, this is Wei Wen from the elite training camp. I need to order a portion of life essence water, Wei Wen stated plainly. One moment, please. Let me check Mr. Wei Wen's contribution points. 4-star contribution level confirmed. The half price for life essence water is 15 billion. Do you wish to proceed with the purchase? Asked the staff member from the Extreme Marshal Hall HQ, sounding slightly surprised. After Wei Wen had uploaded the new 9-stage Thunder Blade manual, Hong had directly awarded him 4-star contribution status, worth 100 billion points. With that level of contribution, even the previous 9-stage Thunder Blade itself could be bought at half price, let alone the comparatively cheaper life essence water. Purchase it. Deliver it to the main gate of the elite training camp. I'll collect it around 1 p.m., Wei Wen replied with a smile. The elite training camp is located within the headquarters base city. Delivery to the camp's main gate will be swift. You may collect the life essence water at 1 o'clock, confirmed the headquarters staff. As for Atkin, pierced stage by stage through the subterranean rock strata by Wei Wen's flying dagger, his body continued its relentless descent. The rocks and soil displaced by the blade quickly sealed shut again, erasing any trace of Atkin's final trajectory. If it weren't for that shard of red titanium copper, I might have died long ago. I owe Babata a huge debt, Wei Wen couldn't help but reflect inwardly. As for Atkin's death, it cannot be exposed yet. Let him perish quietly here. Before July, Wei Wen hadn't even passed the Quasi-Warrior examination. Yet now, not even October, he had become a powerhouse surpassing the God of War level, and had killed the 5th Elder, planetary-level 3rd stage Atkin. If this news were to spread, the whole world would likely go into a frenzy. Just imagining that scene made Wei Wen's scalp tingle. At the very least, he wasn't invincible yet. He would wait for Luo Feng to utilize the spiritual plants and the wood essence crystals. His martial strength could then break through to the planetary level in the shortest time, after which his spiritual master strength could continue to grow. Therefore, the elite training camp could serve as his temporary place to lay low. As long as he didn't display strength surpassing the God of War level, generally no one would be able to discern his current true level. If absolutely necessary, Wei Wen could easily hunt 2 Lord-level monsters, obtain a God of War rating, and graduate directly from the training camp. But graduating abruptly from the training camp might invite greater trouble. After all, even while he was in the training camp, Atkin had dared to take action. Forget it. I'll stay at the elite training camp a while longer and wait for Luo Feng to grow stronger, Wei Wen decided internally. With wood essence crystals by his side, Luo Feng would advance rapidly, and through the system's feedback, Wei Wen could grow stronger quickly as well. Once he possessed sufficient power to protect himself, it wouldn't matter even if his strength were exposed. Strength was the foundation for dialogue on equal footing. Without power, nothing could be said. Atkin, for example, believing himself strong, had dared to threaten and even attempt to kill Wei Wen. Elite training camp, around 12:30 p.m., Wei Wen took a passenger aircraft back to Hongning Base City. After another half-hour ride in a special vehicle, he returned to the elite training camp. As soon as Wei Wen approached the main gate, a large truck seemed to spot him. It drove directly to a wide area nearby and came to a stop. Swoosh, Mr. Wei Wen, correct. The life essence water you ordered is here, a voice called out as the truck's rear door opened. Wei Wen jogged to the back of the truck. Before he could board, a blue light scanned him, accompanied by an electronic voice. Member Wei Wen, identity confirmed. With the electronic confirmation, a silver-white secure case unlocked. The interior of the truck compartment was luxurious. 3 individuals inside all looked at Wei Wen with surprise. Your arm is severed. Did you encounter a king-level beast? One of the God of War-level experts asked, astonished. Regarding Wei Wen's strength, many inferred that the intensity of his mental power was already at the high-level warrior tier. Combined with his powerful telekinetic amplification, he was considered an invincible God of War. For such a powerhouse to be injured so severely while hunting Lord-level monsters was unlikely. Unless he had encountered a king-level monster, such serious injury was improbable. Yes, I just went to Australia. Didn't expect my luck to be that bad. Wei Wen replied casually, taking the life essence water from the case. With a mental nudge, he removed the test tube stopper. The life essence water within the tube floated out. Wei Wen swallowed the green liquid, brimming with vitality, and rapidly absorbed it. Instantly, a sensation of cool, soothing comfort flooded his entire being, even causing his soul to tremble. His severed arm began to regenerate at a visible pace. Jiangnan Pavilion. Luo Feng, after using the dragon blood, your physical fitness has now reached the high-level warrior standard. Wei Wen said, looking at the somewhat bewildered Luo Feng before him. And your mental power is 2 tiers above your physical fitness. Your mental power is already equivalent to that of an intermediate God of War. That's right. What about it? Luo Feng asked, confusion evident after hearing Wei Wen's words. Luo Feng didn't dwell much on how Wei Wen knew his exact strength. After all, Wei Wen had helped him immensely, and he held no suspicion towards him. In Luo Feng's heart, without Wei Wen, he wouldn't have achieved his current progress so quickly. For Wei Wen, Luo Feng was his golden ticket. Luo Feng's character was precisely the type to repay kindness tenfold, for a drop of water given, a spring in return. Aside from advising Luo Feng to keep a low profile, Wei Wen had no other concerns. I have some good things for you. The method of use is very simple. After a moment's silence, Wei Wen handed Luo Feng several spiritual plant and a few wood essence crystals. This is. Even without actively absorbing their energy, just holding the wood essence crystals made Luo Feng feel his strength steadily increasing. He had already absorbed genetic energy to saturation today and couldn't take in more. But the existence of the wood essence crystals could allow him to absorb genetic energy and even enhance his mental power beyond his usual limits. 1,000 of you chose to be here. That's not just a number. That's 1,000 people who believed in this channel before it was anything big, and that means everything. To everyone who watched till the end, dropped a comment, hit that like button, or shared a video with a friend, thank you. You're the reason this exists, but honestly, this is just chapter 1. We're setting our sights on 5,000 subscribers in the next 30 days, and with this community behind us, I know we can get there. The content is leveling up. The journey is just getting started, and you're already part of it. Let's build something incredible together. Rocket.